Chapter 10. After things settled down, I made a decision. Repeat, I didn't take the Gaokao, so naturally I have no scores. It's okay, I've already learned everything I was supposed to in my past life. With a whole year's worth of knowledge stored in my head, given another chance, I'm confident I can do even better. On the exam, Zhou Yan's first reaction upon hearing this news was, "I'll wait for you." Wait for me for what? You focus on getting into your university. No, I mean, wherever you get accepted, I'll go visit you there. I looked at him. How did you do on the Gaokao? Hehe, the scores aren't out yet. What's your estimated score? Alright, enough of that. How about I treat you to some barbecue? That evening, we went to the old barbecue stall behind the school, still the same spot, the table near the back. Zhou Yan ordered a bunch of skewers, 2 bottles of beer, and a plate of peanuts. The shop owner recognized me. "Hey, aren't you the one?" "Yeah, I'm the one who was framed." The boss gave a thumbs up. "You've got guts, kid. I never believed you'd cheat. A guy who always returns the extra change when I overcharge him for skewers. How could he cheat?" I smiled. "Boss, he's paying for the meal today." I pointed at Zhou Yan. "Zhou Yan, thank you," the boss said with a smile. "I'll throw in 2 extra skewers for you." Zhou Yan glared at me. "Are you even human, Lin Bei? You sounded so affectionate when you said you'd wait for me. What's the big deal about treating me to a barbecue? You, alright, next time it's on me." "You said the same thing last time. This time, it's for real." "You said the same thing last time, that this time it was real." We bickered and laughed, finishing 2 bottles of beer at a smoky barbecue stall. Not much, but enough. The wind is quite chilly. The cicadas are still chirping. The streetlights cast a dim, yellowish glow, stretching the shadows of the 2 youths long across the ground. Zhou Yan took a sip of his drink and suddenly said, "Lin Bei, have you been through something recently that I don't know about?" My chopsticks paused mid-air as I was picking up a peanut. "Why do you ask?" "Because you've changed." He looked at me. "You weren't like this before. Back then, you just carry everything on your own, never telling anyone, keeping it all bottled up inside, but this time, you stayed calm from start to finish. Every step seemed planned in advance. You're only 18. How come you're living like you're 48? I fell silent for a moment. 18? No, I've already lived a life. I didn't make it past 18 in my last life. This lifetime's 18 years. I plan to live a little longer, perhaps because I raised the bottle. Someone who's been through death tends to see things more clearly. Zhou Yan looked utterly confused. What kind of nonsense are you spouting now? It's nothing. Come on, cheers. The 2 bottles clinked together with a crisp sound. At that moment, I suddenly remembered myself standing on the rooftop in my past life. The wind was howling. I was standing at the edge of the 37th floor, looking down. I saw only a dark, abyssal void. My lips parted, but no words came out. But the words never came, and then I took that step. After that step, there was nothing. But now, I'm sitting at a barbecue stall with my best friend across from me, and the table is filled with peanuts and skewers. The wind is still strong, but it's not cold, and I can smell the scent of fireworks, the taste of being alive. Zhou Yan, thank you. What for? Treating you. Alright, fine. Next time, no. I looked at him. Thank you for never giving up on me. Zhou Yan was stunned, then he turned his face away and took a hard swig of the liquor. Did you have too much to drink today? You're already talking nonsense after just 2 beers. I'm not drunk. Can you just act normal? You're giving me the creeps. I laughed. Alright, act normal. I picked up a skewer of lamb and took a bite. Sizzling, juicy roasted lamb, piping hot and seasoned with cumin and chili flakes. So delicious, so goddamn delicious. The feeling of being alive. That's the taste I remember. What happened next? I repeated my final year of high school and scored in the top 100 for the entire province. I got into a top-tier university. Zhou Yan's exam results were average, so he went to a decent university in the neighboring province. But we still met up every holiday, always at that same barbecue joint. Lu Ziqian, I heard his family paid for him to repeat his final year at a private high school, but he completely lost his nerve. He took the exams twice and didn't do well either time, ending up at a very ordinary vocational college. I didn't keep up with what happened after that. It's not that I don't care, it's that I no longer need to. I've already won the game of this life. The road ahead, I'll walk myself. Story 2. The first thing mom did after her rebirth was on the very day of the divorce, she gave up fighting for my custody. Give me 5 million, and the child is yours. With those words, mom turned and walked away. I didn't cry or make a fuss, quietly took my father's hand. Because I was reborn too, Dad hugged me excitedly, planting kisses on both cheeks. Good girl, Juno. I told you your mother wouldn't want you. Dad noticed my sadness. He comforted me, saying, it's okay, stay with me, and I'll spoil you rotten. My eyes remained fixed on mom's retreating figure, yet she never looked back as she stepped into that car. Your mother's something else, divorces me and jumped straight into another man's car. What a disgrace. I lowered my head. In my past life, even after my parents divorced, I stayed with mom. She never spoke ill of dad in front of me. She always said, Juno, no matter what happens between your father and me, he'll always love you. That's what I always thought too. I remained silent. 1 week after my parents' divorce, I couldn't hold back anymore and called mom, only to find she'd already blocked my number. When I asked dad again about mom's whereabouts, he frowned impatiently and said, you're with me now. Stop asking about your mother. Really, didn't I tell you? She abandoned you. She's nothing but a heartless woman. I let out a bitter laugh. That's how dad spoke of her. I just found out that mom had already processed her immigration paperwork on the very day of the divorce a week ago, leaving the country with her college mentor's son to pursue further studies. Dad couldn't get over it. He regretted agreeing too soon. The divorce papers were signed too hastily. I should have uncovered mom's affair sooner. That way we could kick mom out without spending a dime, leaving her with nothing. But I knew, mom gave up her chance to study abroad and abandoned her own dreams for dad's sake. I came along in their second year of marriage. We thought our little family of 3 would stay this happy forever, but soon, dad started coming home less and less. At first, mom would still smile and tell me dad was too busy with work during the startup phase of his company, until the day dad forgot their wedding anniversary, leaving mom waiting at home all night with a prepared dinner. Then later, he forgot my birthday. Mom could no longer lie to herself. Finally pushed beyond endurance, she filed for divorce, until, seeing my dejected expression, dad realized he'd spoken too harshly. 02, he smiled and picked me up. Good girl Juno, it's daddy's fault. Your mom, well, never mind, I'll find you a new mom someday. She'll be 1,000 times better than your mother ever was. 1 month after the divorce, dad brought a new woman into our home. I know her. She's Suingha, the new assistant my dad's company just hired. In my past life, dad would always complain during meals about how clumsy his new assistant was, messing up everything, said with disgust. Mom even defended her. Oh, come on, she's just a fresh college graduate. Cut her some slack. Later when dad mentioned her again, the irritation was gone, replaced by a smile. Back then, mom had cautiously asked dad, you've been mentioning Suingha quite often lately, haven't you? Dad looked uncomfortable. He snapped at mom in defensive anger. Must you be so petty? I merely mentioned a coworker a few times. And you're already jealous. Should I fire every female employee at our company just to please you? Mom looked hurt, her words caught in her throat. In the end, she said nothing. Ingha walked over, and I sweetly called out, big sis. She pinched my cheek and said, what a sweet talker you are, Juno. See what I got you. Do you like it? I saw the Barbie doll in her hand along with my favorite white princess dress. I looked up with a beaming smile. I love it. Thank you sis. Dad stepped forward and hugged Ingha Su with doting affection. See, I told you our Juno is such a sweetheart, wasn't I right? When dad left to work, only she and I remained in the room. Suingha approached with ingratiating eagerness. Juno, be honest with me. Would you mind having me as your new mom? I saw the probing look in her eyes. With a smile, I replied, of course I wouldn't mind. Unconvinced, she pressed further. But, don't you miss your mom? I answered without hesitation, not at all. Dad said she ran off with some man and abandoned me. Besides, mom was old and frumpy, nothing like you, auntie. You're so young and pretty. I'd rather have you as my new mom. My words completely dispelled Suingha's doubts. She let out a sigh of relief, stepped into her father's study. Through the door, I heard voices inside. I told you Juno's only 6. She won't remember anything. Just treat her well, and she'll return the kindness. Humph, if I didn't love you, I'd never play stepmother to someone else's child. Soon, the muffled sounds of passionate kissing and Dad's ragged breathing seeped through the door. I turned away silently. On the day Dad married Suing-ha, I was their flower girl. In the distance, I thought I saw a familiar figure. It looked just like Mom, but when I rushed out, there was no one in sight. Of course, Mom truly abandoned me. She's already gone abroad to chase her dreams. Why would she ever return to this place of heartbreak? After all, in her past life, she suffered greatly for my sake. When my parents divorced, Mom fought tooth and nail for my custody, but Mom was unemployed while Dad ran his own company, so Mom's chances of winning the custody battle were slim. Mom filed for divorce, demanding half of Dad's assets, but Dad just smiled and said the company was under Grandma and Grandpa's name. None of it belonged to him, not even the house or cars. That was when Mom realized Dad had been scheming against her since their wedding day. All this time, Mom had never bothered with these matters, trusting Dad completely, yet she never imagined the person sharing her bed would be the one plotting against her the most. In the end, my mother fought for my custody. She left with nothing but me in her arms. No one could imagine how hard life was for an unemployed woman raising a child alone. What's worse, my father had plenty of money but refused to pay a single cent in child support. My brow twitched. The temperature hit 40 degrees Celsius. Yet our tiny rented room didn't even have air conditioning. 3, with no windows, the stifling heat became unbearable. After work each evening, Mom would cool me down by gently wiping my body with cold water over and over. Meanwhile, sweat poured off her like rain from the relentless heat. After Mom and Dad got divorced, Mom couldn't afford the tuition for that elite private school anymore, so I had to transfer to a more affordable public elementary school. Juno, I promise you'll go back to your old school once Mom saves up enough. All my extracurricular classes, piano, dance, calligraphy, came to an abrupt halt. Mom was consumed with guilt over this. A sudden thought struck me. Good riddance. I hated those exhausting classes anyway. The cakes, salmon, foie gras, and Australian lobsters we used to enjoy freely now made Mom balk at their price tags alone. Whenever there's something delicious, Mom always saves the first bite for me. Mom, my teacher says eating rich food all the time isn't healthy. We should have more vegetables for a balanced diet. Mom knew I was just saying that to comfort her. She held me tight and sobbed uncontrollably. Overnight, I went from being a princess on a pedestal to a matchstick girl in the slums, but I never once resented Mother for it. As long as I'm with Mom, even the hardest days taste sweet. Later when I fell ill, running a high fever with pneumonia, Mom rushed me to the hospital immediately, yet couldn't afford the treatment. In my feverish haze, I heard Mom pleading with Dad over the phone. Dad responded with condescending mockery. What happened? You promised you could take good care of Juno, but she's hospitalized in less than 6 months. Mom choked up looking at my fever-flushed face. Please, Roy, she's your own flesh and blood, just 5,000. After I pay the hospital bill, I'll never ask you for another penny. 5,000 bucks, not even enough for Suing-ha's handbag, couldn't even cover a luxury grooming session for her cat, yet Dad wouldn't spare a penny. Eventually, Mom had no choice but to take out an online loan. She was very happy I recovered, but Mom became even more exhausted. She started working 2 jobs, waiting tables by day and delivering takeout at night. She never came home until late at night. Mom would tiptoe around, careful not to wake me, yet I'd always startle awake the moment she arrived. Once, Mom thought I was sound asleep, holding me and rocking back and forth, murmuring to herself, Juno, was it wrong for Mom to want you? Truth is, I really wanted to tell Mom, choosing to stay with her. I don't regret it one bit. Suing-ha had been married for less than half a year. She gave birth to a son named Alec. That day, the father was overjoyed, dancing around the hospital room. Our family line is secured at last. Back when Mom and Dad were still in love, Dad used to say he adored daughters most. A daughter's so considerate, a father's little angel, unlike boys who just know how to push my buttons. To reward Suing-ha for continuing the family line, overjoyed, Dad immediately bought Suing-ha a beachfront villa. Suing-ha seized the moment to suggest sending me away. After all, Alec isn't her real brother. Who's to say she wouldn't harm my son? Father frowned. She's just a child. How could that be possible? Besides, she's still my biological daughter. Imagine how bad it would sound if word got out about kicking her out. Seeing her father's refusal, Suingha immediately threw a tantrum, threatening to jump off the building with the child. My father coaxed her with endless terms of endearment, calling her sweetheart and darling. In the end, though reluctant, my father gave in. On the day he sent me away, he couldn't bring himself to meet my eyes. Your brother is too spoiled, crying and fussing all day long. Dad's worried it might affect your studies, so we'll rent you a place outside and hire a nanny to take good care of you. How does that sound? I knew my opinion didn't matter, so I just nodded and agreed. Dad didn't expect me to be so composed, agreeing without hesitation. With a hint of reluctance, he slipped a card into my hand. There's 500,000 in there. Buy whatever you want. I beamed sweetly. Thanks, Dad. As we got into the car, Dad waved at me. Uncle Wade, the driver, seemed quite indignant on my behalf. Mr. Roy is being utterly unfair. After all, you're his daughter too. How could he just cast you out like this? I lowered my eyes, didn't say a word. In this world, a stepmother inevitably brings a stepfather. I learned that lesson in my past life, so it won't hurt me anymore. All I ever wanted was to grow up peacefully in this home. Nothing else mattered to me. After moving out, Father never showed up again, for whenever I texted my dad, he'd always promised to visit me on weekends, but then he started complaining I texted him too often. Stop messaging me so much. If Aunt Inga sees this, she'll get upset. I wisely never send it again. Sometimes I just stare blankly at our family of 3 photo. On my 5th birthday, my parents took me to Shanghai Disneyland. That remains the happiest day in my memory. Dad took me on a roller coaster ride. Our whole family enjoyed the water rafting, and he even brought me to explore Treasure Cove in the Pirates of the Caribbean themed area. As night fell and the fireworks show was about to begin, Dad lifted me high up in the air. I perched comfortably on his broad shoulders. The brilliant fireworks bursting across the sky forever captured our family of 3's radiant smiles in this photograph. Tears kept streaming down, but soon, I shook off these sorrowful thoughts. Don't dwell on the past. My mom once told me, Juno, never give up on your dreams or your career. Education may not be the only path in life, but it gives you more choices, right? In my past life, study, after my parents' divorce, my grades gradually slipped from the top of the class to the bottom. These days, I'm burning the candle at both ends. Every day I memorize English vocabulary and Chinese texts, grabbing every spare moment to read. If I don't understand something at first glance, I'll read it again. Hard work compensates for shortcomings. Besides, I was never stupid to begin with. Soon enough, my grades improved by leaps and bounds. I became the top student in my class. Eventually, I even ranked first in the entire grade. The teacher's call came through to Dad's phone. When Dad heard I ranked first in the final exams, he was so thrilled that he actually brought me home for the first time ever. The New Year's coming. I'm taking you home to celebrate. Looking at Dad's outstretched hand. After a moment's hesitation, I took her hand anyway, but the moment Suingha saw me walk in, her frown never left her face. She even started arguing with my father right in front of me. Didn't I tell you not to bring outsiders into our home? Not giving Dad an ounce of face, Dad spoke cautiously. After all, Juno is my daughter too. I just want to bring her home for New Year's dinner, then send her back right after. Suingha sneered. Oh sure, she's your daughter. Does that mean Alec isn't your son? I'm your wife now. Must you keep bringing your ex-wife's daughter home to spite me? If you don't want this marriage anymore, let's just get divorced. Alec, just over a year old, could barely string words together, yet he already saw me as the enemy. Like an angry little lion, he charged at me and crashed into my legs. Bad man, go away, don't hurt my mommy. With that, he collapsed to the ground, wailing at the top of his lungs. He even hurled a glass at me. It shattered on impact, and flying shards cut my calf. Blood instantly gushed from the wound. Heartbroken to the verge of tears, Dad rushed over and gathered Alec into his arms, soothing him. Then, he shot me a look of disgust. Get the hell out of my sight, he roared. My heart clenched deep down. I'd always known Dad favored Alec more, though he'd at least maintained a veneer of kindness toward me. I'm still lying to myself, though Father never showed me much love, but there was some affection. Now, even that last glimmer of hope has faded. I turned and walked out, but I was too young to hail a cab. Besides, it was New Year's Eve. The streets were completely deserted. I gazed at the warm yellow and bright white lights glowing from every household, brimming with hope and happiness, but but not a single lamp belongs to me now, hugging my shoulders. I sat by the door waiting for him. I lost track of how long I waited, until my body nearly froze stiff in the bitter winter wind. The door swung open. Why are you still here? I just got Alec. Calm down. If he sees you, he'll start crying again. Her voice dripped with impatience. My body wouldn't stop trembling, my teeth chattering from the cold. I've got nowhere to go. Those words froze Dad in his tracks. He glanced at the deserted streets, realizing the driver had long gone home for the new year. His gaze finally settled on my injured calf. He spoke with a hint of apology in his voice. Juno, I'm helpless here. You see, every time you come over, Aunt Sue starts arguments with me, and your little brother, he's still so young. How could I possibly choose you over my own son? I stared steadily into my father's eyes, whispering, but Dad, I'm your daughter too. I'm only 8 years old. Dad avoided eye contact. His tone grew impatient. All right, I never said you're not my daughter. It's just, there's no other way. Let me take you home. The whole way. I watched the scenery flash by outside the window. My mind was filled with nothing but Mom's face. I wonder, has Mom finally found the life she wanted? Is she doing all right? She must be living happily without this deadweight like me. Will we ever meet again? In her past life, Mom collapsed while delivering takeout. When the hospital called my elementary school teacher, I was still in class. The teacher's face showed distress. They took me to the hospital. I clutched my sleeves tightly the whole way. The teacher hesitated to speak. In the end, nothing was said. When I arrived at the hospital and saw my mother, her face was covered with a white cloth. The doctor was explaining to us, heatstroke. It's too late. Certain words registered in my ears, yet I couldn't comprehend. Mom kissed me goodbye with a smile this morning. How can she be lying there so still now? Finally, the teacher patted my head and said regretfully, Juno, your mother has passed away. I stood there stubbornly, refusing to let them take Mom away. You're lying. My mom can't be dead. I shook Mom's body desperately. Mom, wake up. Please don't sleep anymore. I was wrong. I'll quit school. I'll eat less. Just please don't ignore me, Mom, I'll beg Dad for money so you won't have to work so hard, Mom. No matter what I said, Mom just lay there pale and motionless. It was like she'd never speak to me again. As I kept talking, all the aunts and uncles present began to cry. The teacher choked up, crouched down, and hugged me. Juno, don't do this. Your mother is exhausted. Let her rest. Yeah, Mom's worn out from dragging deadweight like me around, getting only 4 or 5 hours of sleep at most. Each day, running around every day just to make ends meet. Even when she's exhausted and giving it her all, she still feels guilty toward me. Mom said she was an orphan who endured hardships as a child. With financial aid, she got into college and studied relentlessly to change her fate. But after meeting Dad, she gave up her dreams for love. Her face always clouds with sorrow when she speaks of these things, yet she insists, I have no regrets, because being with your father gave me you, Juno. Your mother is truly happy, but I'm the one who regrets. Had I not chosen Mom back then, perhaps she would have lived a happier life, at least. Still alive. Slowly, ever so slowly, I released my tight grip on Mother's hand. Now Mother can finally get some proper rest. I won't disturb her anymore. I'll be good. I watched helplessly as Mom was pushed into the furnace before my eyes, consumed by the raging flames. My heart was wrenched with agony at that moment. Darkness kept washing over my vision. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't choose Mom this time. Heaven have mercy. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my parents divorced, but Mom seemed to have been reborn too. She left me. I just feel relieved. Mom, live for yourself in this lifetime. The 4th year without Mother. On my 10th birthday, Dad voluntarily brought me back home. I stood at the doorstep, hesitating for a long time without entering. Seeing me frozen in place, Dad asked curiously, why aren't you coming in, Juno? I looked inside the door. Aunt Sue and little brother. He let out a hollow laugh. Come in. We're family now. Though Aunt Sue had some reservations about you before, I've talked to her. She's ready to treat you as her own daughter. I didn't believe a word Father said. Fine. I don't want to go against his wishes either. The moment I stepped inside, Suingha stood by the dining table laden with delicacies, smiling as she beckoned me over. Juno, I never imagined you'd grow up to be such a fine young woman. You've become even more beautiful. The tone carried a fawning flattery. I've barely returned home since she had the child. after years apart. These feelings are only natural. Seeing I wouldn't respond, she gave an awkward chuckle. She made me sit down and kept piling food into my bowl. Eat up now. This is your home. I've already discussed with your father. You'll be starting middle school soon and should attend a better institution. It's all his fault for being too busy with work to notice your academic transition. Honestly, he never pays attention to these things unless I remind him. Yet ironically, she was the one who threw tantrums to stop Dad from sending me to that elite private school. She insisted I only attend the most ordinary public elementary school. I finished my meal in silence. Suingha kept shooting meaningful glances at Dad, clearly holding back words. But Dad hesitated for a long time without speaking. That night when I tried to leave, Dad insisted I stay, but my old room had long since become my younger brother's bedroom. I had to settle for the guest room temporarily. Before turning in, I asked Dad, "Do you remember what day it is today?" He paused to think, "What's so special about today? It's just Saturday." "Oh no, I forgot to take Auntie Sue's dodo for grooming today. She's going to be mad at me again." "All right, time to get some rest." I closed the door with a self-deprecating chuckle. Of course Dad would forget my birthday. In his heart, I rank lower then suing his pet cat. The next day, Dad brought over my belongings from the rental apartment. "From now on, the four of us will live together as a family." I remained silent, neither refusing nor agreeing. In the following days, both Dad and Suingha treated me exceptionally well, suspiciously well, until that day, I overheard Dad arguing with Suingha in the bedroom. "How much longer are we going to pamper this little princess? When exactly are you going to tell her about the bone marrow donation?" Dad let out a heavy sigh. "Just a few more days. After all, Juno is my daughter too. She's still so young. How could I possibly ask her to donate bone marrow to Alec?" Suingha sneered. "Oh, she's your daughter, so you coddle her like some precious treasure. What about Alec? Isn't he your son too? A marrow donation won't kill her, but our boy will die without this surgery. Are you really going to stand by and watch your own flesh and blood die?" The sound of shattering objects echoed from the bedroom. I stood frozen in place. "So that's why Dad's been so nice to me lately. He wants me to donate bone marrow to my brother." I thought I was done grieving over Dad, but now this pain in my chest just won't go away. How I wish I could scream at him, "I'm your daughter too." Tears streamed down silently. The door suddenly swung open. Dad's face froze in awkwardness when he saw my tear-streaked face. He let out a sigh. "Since you've already heard, I'll take you to the hospital tomorrow." I stared at him, still clinging to hope. I asked, "Dad, I'm only 10. Are you really going to sacrifice my health for my brother?" He avoided my gaze and waved his hand impatiently. "What about me? Should I just stand by and watch Alec die? He's your brother too. You should save him." I took a deep breath. 6. "Dad, all your kindness these days. It was for my brother, wasn't it?" Silence confirmed it. My heart turned to stone. "I won't donate." I turned to leave, but Suingha's iron grip clamped down on my wrist. Her eyes burned with venom as she spat. "You'll donate whether you like it or not, after all these years of putting food in your mouth and clothes on your back, and you deny us your marrow, you ungrateful wretch." I looked to my father for help, but he remained silent on the sidelines. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free. In the end, I sank my teeth hard into her arm. She yelped in pain, letting go as she cursed and lashed out at me. A brutal beating. Father just stood by watching coldly, completely indifferent. In the end, battered and bruised, I was locked in the basement by Suingha, dark, damp, reeking of mildew. I could even hear the squeaks of rats scurrying about. In my past life, the tiny rented room Mom and I shared was also infested with rats, but back then, with Mom by my side, I feared nothing. Now, I'm terrified. How I wish Mom would appear and take me away, but she's probably forgotten all about me by now. I hugged myself, trying to console myself. It's okay, as long as Mom's doing well, I don't mind putting up with some hardship. Fine, I'll donate the bone marrow. Once I come of age, I'm leaving this house for good, then I'll go abroad to find my mother. I'd been carefully saving every penny of the pocket money Dad occasionally gave me over the years. Now I have enough to go find Mom. This thought fills me with courage from head to toe. Not a trace of fear remains, humming the lullaby Mom used to sing me to sleep, fighting off hunger as I slowly drifted into dreams. At the crack of dawn the next day, Suingha and Dad took me to the hospital. First, We underwent compatibility testing. A week later, the results showed we were a perfect match. Dad was overjoyed. He immediately took me to the hospital to schedule the surgery. After seeing my physical condition, the doctors refused to perform the surgery for us. She's too thin and young to donate bone marrow. Suing-ha threw an immediate tantrum in the hospital upon hearing this. Are you trying to kill him? My son is sick and needs this bone marrow transplant to survive, yet you're refusing to operate. What kind of monsters are you? Listen carefully. If anything happens to my boy, I'll make you pay for this. The doctor sighed but maintained patience. Normally donors must be over 18, but we could make an exception. The problem is her weight. She's only 25 to 30 kilograms now, already underweight for her age. She'd need to reach at least 50 kilograms before donation. Why not help her gain weight first, then proceed when she meets the requirement? No, we can't wait another minute. Donating bone marrow won't kill you anyway. Just operate on my son now. I don't care about the consequences. Suing-ha snarled at the doctor with a twisted expression. The doctor looked deeply troubled. His gaze shifted toward my father, wanted to seek his advice. Finally, Dad lowered his head and said, "Let's do as my wife suggests." The doctor looked at me helplessly again. "Sweetheart, are you really willing to donate bone marrow to your little brother?" I saw the pity in everyone's eyes around me. A bitter thought crossed my mind. I didn't want to. But what could I do? My father is my legal guardian. Once he gives consent, I have no power to object. I took a deep breath, whispering my reply, "I do." The door suddenly burst open. A familiar yet booming voice exploded in my ears. "I refuse." I whipped my head around, the face I'd been dreaming of day and night. "Mom." "Mom's back." Dad saw her too. He froze in shock. I was stunned too. I can't believe Mom is really back. I stared at her hungrily, terrified this might just be a dream. She wore a camel-colored wool coat over a beige knit top, her jet black hair cascading like liquid silk, with porcelain skin so delicate it seemed translucent. She radiated timeless elegance and effortless grace. Is this really the same mother from my past life? That exhausted, sallow-faced woman worn down by malnutrition, Iris. Dad stood frozen, utterly stunned by Mom's breathtaking beauty. He had to double-check several times. Mom stepped forward with icy composure. She slapped Dad hard across the face, then she shielded me behind her. "Roy, I entrusted our daughter to your care. But how have you treated her? Kicking her out to live alone, even during holidays, that was bad enough. But now you'd make a child her age donate marrow for your son. I'm telling you, no way." Dad was stunned by the blow and only now regained his composure. Facing Mom's accusatory questions, he lowered his head in embarrassment. Inga pointed at Mom's face. "You were the one who gave up custody of your daughter for 5 million, now she's our child, and we'll do as we please. As for the bone marrow donation, she will donate to my son, period." Mom sneered. "Yes, I did grant Roy custody before, but things have changed now. I'll sue you for abusing Juno, and I will reclaim custody of my daughter." With that, no matter how Suing-ha raged and screamed, Mom took my hand and walked us out of the room. Even after stepping outside, I still felt like I was living in a dream. I walked over to a quiet corner. Mom let go of my hand. My heart skipped a beat. Tiptoeing forward, I gently tugged at Mom's finger. "Mom, please don't be mad at me. It's okay if you don't want me, but could you tell me where you live? I just want to see you." I quickly added, "Just occasionally. If you don't want to see me, even a distant glimpse would be enough." But Mother still ignored me, still had her back turned to me. My heart sank little by little. I gradually loosened my grip on Mom's hand, but in an instant, she pulled me into her embrace. Mom was trembling. She held me tightly in her arms. Tears soaked through my shoulder. "Juno, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I had no choice but to leave you behind back then. All these years abroad, I've worked tirelessly, studying, earning money, just so I could come back sooner to take you away from your father. I never once thought of abandoning you. I'm so sorry. You must blame me. You must hate me. It's all my fault for making you suffer all these years." After crying for what felt like forever, Mom finally let go of me. I reached up to wipe the tears from the corners of Mom's eyes. "Mom, I never blamed you, not even once. These years haven't been hard at all, really. It's just that, I've missed you so much." Mom took me for a forensic injury examination, immediately filed a lawsuit against Dad. That day, Mom took me to her place. "This is your bedroom." I stared at the Room before me, my eyes welled up with tears again. My favorite Nick the Fox plush sat on the bed, the room still decorated in my beloved green hue. Mom's special nightlight for bedtime stories glowed by the bedside, while her hand-carved wooden pig figurine watched over my desk. I threw myself into Mother's embrace. This very embrace was what I'd lost in my past life. I thought Mom had abandoned me in this life. Never expected she'd come back to me. Mom cradled me, patting my back to lull me to sleep. But I was wide awake, chattering excitedly about everything that had happened in her absence. Even though Dad hasn't been kind to me, but I couldn't care less. For the past 4 years, I'd been studying relentlessly, devouring thousands of books and retelling their stories to Mom with perfect clarity. Mom, did you know I've consistently ranked first in my grade? I said proudly. Mom's face lit up with a smile as she kissed my forehead. Juno, Mom knows. I felt somewhat disappointed. I was actually planning to surprise her. Mom continued, the truth is, I came to every single parent-teacher meeting of yours. I just never went inside. I'd watch you from afar. I was afraid if I saw you, I wouldn't be able to leave again, but I had nothing, no means to fight your father for custody, no way to provide you a good life. Can you ever forgive me? So you came back on Dad's wedding day too, didn't you? Mom nodded sheepishly. Back then, Mom had just been abroad for a month away from you. I missed you so much I could barely sleep, so I secretly bought a ticket to come see you. Never expected to walk in on your father's wedding, so every time I saw a figure that looked like Mom, it wasn't my imagination after all, it was all real. I held Mom tight in my arms. All those days I missed Mom. She was missing me just the same. Mom also shared stories about her study abroad experience. Back then, I couldn't bring myself to tell you the truth, afraid I wouldn't persevere, afraid I'd disappoint you. So I pretended to abandon you, transferring custody to your father. Then I went abroad with my university mentor's son, your Uncle Lincoln. When I first arrived, I missed you terribly every day. The language barrier was overwhelming, and I'd fallen years behind in my field. You can't imagine how often I nearly gave up, but thinking of you always renewed my fighting spirit. That night, Mom and I talked until we were completely exhausted, yet neither of us wanted to sleep. Mom, will I still see you tomorrow? Is this just a dream? Silly Juno, Mommy will never leave you again. Time to sleep now. When I opened my eyes again, the space beside me was empty. Overwhelming panic consumed me. I screamed, Mom. In panic, my mother rushed into the room from cooking in the living room. Seeing the anxious look on her face, I finally let out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, it wasn't just a dream. Before the court session began, Dad tried reaching out to Mom several times, but she kept refusing to see him. In the end, Dad came to me. Your father can transfer custody to your mother, but only if you agree to donate bone marrow to your little brother. Otherwise, I'll hire the best lawyers and take this to court. I turned and repeated Father's words to Mother. Mother was absolutely furious, immediately called my dad. Roy, you bastard, listen up. Hire any lawyer you want. I'm taking this to court. Don't even think about getting my daughter's bone marrow donation. She'll never donate, not in this lifetime. After Mom hung up the phone, look at me. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have raised my voice like that in front of you, let alone badmouth your father to your face. It's okay, and I actually think Mom was right. Anyway, I don't want this father anymore. After saying that, we exchanged knowing smiles. True to form, Dad contacted a law firm and secured the best local attorney, a highly reputable lawyer specializing in civil marriage cases, particularly child custody disputes. Dad put up $1 million. He invited the other party to meet him, but when he arrived, only Mom showed up. He frowned at Mom. Are you following me? Let me tell you something. I'm about to meet with a top-notch lawyer, and soon you'll be begging me on your knees. Mother gave a cold smile, produced her attorney license. Is that so, Mr. Roy, the person you're looking for? It's not me, is it? Dad's eyes widened in shock. You? How could it be you? Mom said sarcastically. What else did you think I went abroad for? I majored in law. My advisor was going to recommend me for the overseas study program, but I stayed in this country. For you, I came here just to tell you, this lawsuit is mine to win. With that, Mom left with her head held high. Undeterred, Dad sought out another lawyer. Upon reviewing the case details and realizing my mother was the plaintiff, they all claimed they couldn't help. In the end, Mom not only successfully won custody of me in court, She also secured a substantial compensation payment, and of course, future child support payments won't be a penny short. Later, Alex's condition took a sharp turn for the worse, and there was still no matching bone marrow available. Dad came with money in hand, begging Mom to save their son, but Mom just threw the cash in his face and told him to get lost. In the end, my father had no choice but to undergo matching tests with his son, but the results came back incompatible. Eventually, he succumbed to his illness. Suing-ha went mad with grief, convinced that my father and I were responsible for her son's death. She forced my father to kill me. Of course, my father refused. This sent her into a rage. She started smashing things around the house every day. At first, Dad would try to calm her down by buying her gifts. It went on for so long that Suing-ha even started kicking and hitting her father. Her father grew weary of it too. He began regretting divorcing my mother all those years ago. He kept calling my mother constantly. Of course, Mom completely ignored him, eventually blocked all his contact information. Later, after Suing-ha slashed Dad's arm with a knife, he finally reached his limit and filed for divorce. Naturally, Suing-ha refused to agree. She believed I was the monster who killed her son and ruined her life, so she ambushed me on my way to school, determined to kill me as revenge for her son. But Mom had already taken precautions. I hired bodyguards to protect me around the clock. When Suing-ha charged at me with a knife, the bodyguard sent her flying with a brutal kick in the end. My mother pressed charges against Suing-ha for intentional assault. During the court hearing, she hurled obscenities and vicious insults at me and my mother. She even threatened to kill me someday to avenge her son. The judge himself grew weary of her outbursts. Ultimately, she received a 3-year prison sentence for attempted intentional injury. We stepped out of the courthouse. Dad stood before Mom and me, his face etched with exhaustion. He stammered out an apology. "I'm sorry, Mom," responded with a cold sneer, refusing to even glance his way. "Roy, the moment you refused to pay even $5,000 for our daughter's illness, I stopped seeing you as Juno's father." Dad was stunned. "I didn't, in this lifetime." He truly hadn't. At this very moment, I truly believed Mom had been reborn. Dad turned to me with pleading eyes. I held Mom's hand firmly. "I only have a mother, not a father. Starting today, my name is Solace." Later, we heard Suing-ha went mad in prison. She searches for her son every single day. When Mother heard, she just said, "Serves her right." I once asked Mom if there was someone special in her life. I wouldn't mind if she found someone new, because I don't want Mom to be all alone. But Mom just said, "With you here, I'm never lonely." Besides, Mom's completely absorbed in her work these days. Every day feels fulfilling. Hearing Mom say that, I was genuinely happy, because I didn't want anyone else sharing Mom's love either. Not even the slightest bit is allowed. After that, Mom moved us to a new place. I never saw Dad again. Maybe he just stopped looking for me. It was Mom who kept him from seeing me. Many years later, I found the one. On the wedding day, a hunched old man lingered outside my wedding venue for a long while. Our eyes met briefly across the distance. His clouded gaze locked onto me with unsettling intensity. His lips parted in a voiceless whisper. "My sweet girl, it reminds me of my childhood, when a man once lifted me high above his head." A memory etched deep in my heart. In just a fleeting moment, I averted my gaze. My mother in the audience watched me with tears of joy and pride streaming down her face. I smiled back, utterly content. I think, having the person I care about most by my side, that's all I need. Everyone else doesn't matter. Story 2. I grew weary of the world, so I found an abandoned farm, purchased a sweet potato cellar, and decided to retreat from society. Less than a year into my seclusion, the apocalypse arrived. Before I turned 5, I was the apple of my mother's eye. Innocent and carefree, everything changed when my mother fell ill. I still remember the first time I saw her in the hospital. Her complexion was sallow, and my father sat by her bed, placing me next to her, holding her hand. Tears filled his eyes as he said, "You must get better. Look at our daughter, Isla. How could you bear to leave her?" That night, I nestled in my mother's arms as she intermittently told me, "Isla, do you know why I named you Isla? Isla means island, even though you're a girl. I hope you'll be an independent island, capable of standing on your own without clinging to others like a vine. Isla, your mom and dad are going to get a divorce. I want to leave everything I can for you, Isla. From now on, you'll be on your own. Don't be afraid. Don't trust others, not even your father or your uncle, Isla. that little house across from your elementary and middle schools. Just a 5-minute walk from your high school. If you need anything, you can go to your teachers. Community workers, or Mrs. Zhang downstairs. Later, my dad, in tears, pleaded with my mom, I won't divorce, Lanji, you're my wife, if you leave, I'll never remarry, I'll raise Isla by myself. My mom was so weak it was hard for her to speak. You can't let Isla hold you back. You still have a long life ahead. When my dad wasn't around, she stared at me, Isla, don't trust men's words. Eventually, my mom passed away, and I transformed from a pampered child into a bitter herb. My dad pitied me for a few months, then quickly found a beautiful girlfriend. He moved me from his house to the one my mom left for me, looking guilty. Isla, Dad's a bit busy, it's convenient for school here, you can go home by yourself at noon, and I'll come pick you up in the evening. After that, he stopped coming in the evenings. I began to understand why my mom had insisted on teaching me, a child not yet 6, to manage household chores and cook. The days were fine, mostly spent at school surrounded by people. The nights were terrifying. Following my mom's advice, I locked the security door, the bedroom door, drew the curtains, and even with the lights on, I was still scared. In the 2nd grade, my dad suddenly came to pick me up, but remembering my mom's words not to trust him, I didn't want to engage. Yet, he held a box of cake with a Disney princess on it, and seeing the princess in a blue dress, I wanted to cry. My dad took me to eat at KFC, bought me clothes, and took me to an amusement park. After my mom's death, it was the first time I felt safe and happy. In my eyes, my father suddenly seemed both grand and kind. Later, after drinking a beverage he handed me, I fell asleep. When I woke up, I found myself in the trunk of a car. At 7 years old, tears streaming down my face, I accepted the harsh consequence that children who don't listen to their mothers deserve punishment. I was sold to a family in the mountains. The woman of the house had been married for nearly 10 years. Without conceiving, she had wanted to buy a boy, preferably an infant, but with little money, the traffickers settled on me instead. I pretended to be simple and foolish, which barely spared me from being beaten to death. 6 months later, when the woman became pregnant, her vigilance relaxed, and I seized the opportunity to escape. I roamed the streets, competing with stray dogs for food, aimlessly wandering between cities. I could have gone home. I remembered where it was, but I feared that returning would lead to more than just having been sold by my father. I feared for my life and wasn't ready to die. Later, I encountered a remarkably kind woman who took me under her wing. With her help, I managed to settle down, enroll in school, and overcome numerous challenges. At 15, I was admitted to a prestigious university's program for gifted youth. At 18, I returned to my hometown and unexpectedly walked into a dramatic scene where my father's legitimate wife was catching him with his mistress. My face, so similar to my mother's, made my father recognize me instantly. The successful, middle-aged man, who had just calmly dealt with his furious wife and delicate mistress with money, was now confronted by me. I smiled subtly and said, Dear father, I'm not here to join this family, I'm here to destroy it. I asked him, how does it feel to start a business with the money from selling your daughter? How does it feel to be a boss with the house you sold your daughter for? Eventually, my father suffered a stroke and became paralyzed. His wife divorced him, his mistresses left him, his son ended up in rehab for drug abuse, and his company came into my possession. Later, I placed him in a nursing home and sold the company, suddenly finding myself quite wealthy. At 20, I declined a job offer from a university and started a trip around the world. By 22, I returned to my country, bought an RV, and traveled extensively domestically. At 24, I suddenly felt an extreme weariness of scenic beauty, delicious food, and the vibrant life of cities and countryside alike, tired of everything and everyone, and knew I needed a quiet place to settle. I didn't want to live abroad, no matter how beautiful the scenery, it couldn't give me a sense of belonging. I didn't want to settle in the south either, unable to endure the sticky air and dampness of the rainy season. After much searching, I found an abandoned farm in the hills near my hometown's neighboring county. The farm, about 30 to 40 miles from the county town and accessible via a 2-meter-wide concrete road leading about 3 to 4 miles from the main road to the city, seemed perfect. The farm owner, a plastics businessman who had become wealthy years ago, had a deep connection to his rural roots. He owned 2 hills and over 400 acres of land where peanuts and sweet potatoes were cultivated, and he also ran a small inn with thatched shelters and stargazing rooms. The location he chose was ideal, bordered by mountains to the north and a river to the west, offering both mountain and water views. The farm was quite popular for a while. Later, deeper inside, several bigger bosses took over more hills to develop landscapes and goosehouses, and it seemed they even established some exclusive clubs. Gradually, the farm lost its appeal to visitors. As time went on, when the domestic market conditions worsened, the farm owner, along with many other business owners, moved their operations to Southeast Asia, leaving their domestic enterprises unattended, let alone the farm. My interest in the farm was piqued mainly because of a unique sweet potato cellar located there. This wasn't just any ordinary cellar, it was highly modernized, positioned between 2 hills. It was dug 6 meters deep and featured an arched structure made from red bricks. The center housed a corridor, 6 meters wide and 50 meters long, with 10 arch-shaped spaces extending on either side, each 10 meters long and more than 4 meters wide. It's a bit hard to describe, so here's a picture. This is the arched corridor and these are the spaces on either side of the corridor. The cellar had electricity and water, with small ditches on both sides of the corridor carrying slowly flowing groundwater to maintain humidity. There were ventilation ducts, and to conceal them, the farm owner had scattered some weeds and bushes, along with various sizes of rocks, over the surface of the sweet potato cellar. When the cellar was first constructed, it was just covered with soil and the 2 rows of ventilation ducts were quite visible, attracting mischievous children who threw stones and poured drinks into them. Before storing sweet potatoes, the cellar had to be disinfected, so the farm owner came up with this method to prevent random debris from falling in. The overgrowth of weeds and scattered stones gradually deterred people's curiosity and trespassing. The cellar maintained a constant temperature, staying between 13 to 15 degrees Celsius year-round. I was quite satisfied. I thought to myself, a corridor and 20 rooms should be enough for me to spend the rest of my days. However, there were aspects I was not satisfied with. I wanted to live there, not just store sweet potatoes, so the interior was a bit too rudimentary for my needs. I had to figure out all my living arrangements, including eating, drinking, and sleeping. Then there was the issue of the door. Since the cellar was underground, accessed by a red brick slope, the door was located at the end of this slope. It was a large, heavy pair of brass doors, usually kept closed except when trucks needed to enter to load goods. A smaller door was installed in the larger one for personnel access. It was secure enough to not worry about break-ins at night, but it was too conspicuous. I came here to live in seclusion. I didn't want it to be obvious that there was a sweet potato cellar here. After much thought, I figured that once I finished remodeling the interior, I could build a carport at the entrance that blended with the entrance to the cellar, using a disguised door in between. That way, anyone passing by would only notice a carport, unaware of the cozy hideaway inside. Once I parked my large RV there, it would be even less likely for anyone to suspect there was anything else inside. It seemed like a good time to keep myself busy with some physical work and start renovations. With money to spare and a whimsical nature, I must admit there's something off with my mind. I think I must be ill. Young as I am, without family, friends, or passion, indifferent to everything, having encountered various men during my travels both domestically and internationally, never bothering to respond to their flirtations, I really don't know what keeps me going. Fortunately, I had this sweet potato cellar. With money and leisure, I could slowly transform the cellar into a place I loved, just like dressing up a doll, with no rush or stress. I went to the south to find a construction company recommended by my mentor. This company had some military background, ensuring top-notch quality and reliability. First, we upgraded the utilities, drilling a deep well for water and setting up solar panels on the hill behind, providing the cellar with 2 sets of water and electricity systems. We also installed sewage treatment facilities to handle some household waste and toilet sewage. We sealed off the ventilation ducts on the top and added new ventilation systems, with the outlets cleverly hidden behind the river's retaining walls on the west side of the farm. Camouflaged with stones and hard to detect, we installed detection systems to monitor temperature, humidity, and air quality in real time. A surveillance system was also set up, not only covering the inside of the cellar but the entire farm, with cameras placed on the mountain and the castle, providing a comprehensive view. After the infrastructure was revamped, I numbered and organized the spaces on both sides of the cellar from the outside to the inside, left to right. Space 1 was the study, 2 the tea room, 3 the activity room, 4 the audio-visual room, 5 the snack storeroom, 7 the freezer room, 8 and 9 were storage rooms, and 10 was the kitchen, creating a leisure zone on the left side. Room 11 was the bathroom, 12 the laundry room, 13 a warm room for hydroponic cultivation of fruits and vegetables, 14 and 15 the cloakrooms, 16 and 17 hobby rooms, and 18 a private store. Rooms 19 and 20 became the bedrooms. One side featured classical decor with traditional beds, and the other side, initially intended to have a girly, princess style with pink furniture and wallpaper. However, after reviewing numerous samples and images, I found the pink too glaring and settled for a coffee color instead. It took a full 6 months, but the renovation was complete, even tidying up the external carport. From a distance, it looked like a slightly fancier carport nestled between 2 hills. The renovation was a bit too polished, so I had the workers age it to blend in with the farm's rustic vibe. I also spruced up the farm's old castle, only refurbishing the interior and installing a robust security door. If ever I grew tired of being underground, I could stay in the castle. It had a Nordic church feel, cylindrical and tall with 3 stories and each floor comprising 1 room, built from sturdy bluestone with narrow, double-layered windows that were excellent for insulation. The ground floor was made into a kitchen and dining area, the second floor a lounge, and the top floor into a bedroom. Originally, the farm was fenced with 2 dense rows of bamboo, which over the years had grown thick, resembling a wall more than a fence. The interior of the farm was overgrown with weeds. There are also some fruit trees like persimmon, apple, chestnut, and apricot trees, as well as a few others I can't quite identify. There's a grape arbor too, but I'm not sure what variety it is. The old shelters and star rooms are now dilapidated. I haven't touched them as I'm quite lazy and don't really want to alter the look of the farm this way, whether I'm looking from the inside out or from the outside in. I'm quite happy with it. Next on the agenda is a shopping spree to stock up my sweet potato cellar. I'm experienced in this. Tasty and useful items, both domestic and international, online and offline. I know quite a bit. It's a bit regrettable that during my years of travel, I bought too little. Back then, I just wandered around without thinking of settling anywhere, only buying more of what really interested me. Now, I definitely don't feel like wandering aimlessly just to shop. I mostly order online, and for this purpose, I've even rented a few basements in the county town to receive packages. Once they're full, I rent a small truck to haul everything to the farm, then gradually move it all into the sweet potato cellar. After more than a month, the cellar was almost full, and I felt a great sense of satisfaction. Over the following month, more items arrived, which I stored in the castle, from renting the farm to renovating it, and now, everything being just as I wish. Nearly a year has passed and early winter has arrived. I've decided to move into the sweet potato cellar full-time to see how long I can stay there. I found out about the outbreak of zombies more than 10 days after it started. I had been living in the sweet potato cellar for 3 to 4 months by then, initially busy organizing each room. There was so much to sort through that just the freezer and storage rooms took almost a month, and it took about another month to tidy up the other rooms. Once that was almost done, I started tinkering with my greenhouse. The inspiration for setting up a greenhouse in the sweet potato cellar came from a trip in my RV to Shouguang, Shandong, where I happened to visit a vegetable exhibition. I was interested in the clean and fresh cultivation environment there, so I ordered a set of equipment from that area. While buying the equipment, I also purchased a lot of seeds, specifically requesting small packets, just 3 to 5 seeds each, for experimental purposes. These days, I'm enthusiastically researching how to awaken seeds, cultivate seedlings, and manage irrigation. I've planted a few cabbages, lettuces, tomatoes, cucumbers, and celery. I'm quite patient, starting with the vegetables I eat regularly before trying the less common ones, to monitor their growth. I take daily photos of each plant and keep a file documenting their development. I spend most of my day in the greenhouse, the rest of the Time is spent cooking and cleaning. By the end of the day, I'm physically tired but mentally fulfilled. After a hot shower, I lie in bed, sometimes listening to music, sometimes to historical stories, and quickly fall asleep. My phone is basically just for show, as I have no social needs. Usually, I use it to check the news or to answer calls for deliveries. These days, there aren't even any deliveries. When I finally got everything almost sorted out and was lounging in the tea room, wanting to drink some tea and catch up on the news, I realized that my phone had run out of battery and turned off. When I powered on my phone, it flooded with notifications. Opening WeChat, a barrage of messages from Jade appeared. Isla, where are you? I heard there's an epidemic again. Please be careful, Isla. It's not just a disease. It seems to be some kind of zombie virus. It's all over the internet. I'm too scared to go outside. Luckily, I have a lot of snacks at home. I heard zombies are everywhere. Isla, I'm safe here. The gates of the community are tightly sealed. Not many people live here. I have food and water, so don't worry. Isla, where have you gone? Why aren't you replying? You haven't turned into a zombie, have you? I'm really worried. There are even zombies in the villa area now. It scared me to death. One was lingering at my doorstep for a long time, a woman covered in blood with flies buzzing around her. I've locked the doors and windows. Thank goodness you helped me install bulletproof doors and windows that year. Isla, why aren't you replying? Have you really turned into a zombie? I really want to come find you. There's another zombie, dressed like a security guard. His blood has turned black. His eyes are gray and white, seems unconscious, but he's very strong and fast. A bird flew by, and he suddenly jumped up and caught it. Isla, it's terrifying. People in the community group are asking for food. I still have a lot here, all the stuff you sent me. I want to share some with them. Oh my God, Isla, I couldn't sleep all night. I used a drone to deliver instant rice to them, and in the middle of the night, a man tried to break into my house. He was chased and bitten by that zombie security guard. It scared me to death. Isla, I'll send you the pictures. Don't be scared. My heart sank. Jade was that ultimate self-righteous saint I met years ago, undoubtedly. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have had the chance to lead a stable life, to study, or to succeed young in my career and take revenge, ruining my father's latter life. But sometimes, I still feel that if it wasn't for her, my life would have been solely about revenge. Without these worries, Jade is truly a one-of-a-kind saint in this world. I even suspect her parents might have been driven to their graves by her sanctimoniousness. Her family is wealthy. She's an only child. When her parents were alive, there was some control over her spending. They passed away when she was 16, and had it not been for her father setting up a fund before his death, limiting her to a monthly allowance of $3 million for living expenses, she might have ended up begging beside me by now. Yet even with that monthly allowance of $3 million, she doesn't indulge in extravagant eating, shopping sprees, nor does she have bad habits like gambling or drugs, nor is she swindled by men in romantic scams. She still lives like a pauper, holed up in her large villa, eating instant noodles. She donates $1 million a month to an orphanage. Seriously, I can't understand it. That rundown orphanage isn't even worth $1 million in total. The children at the orphanage were thinly clad and gaunt, a stark contrast to the robust, well-fed director whose mouth seemed perpetually greased. Yet, she somehow managed to donate $1 million every month without fail to this very orphanage. She also contributed the same amount monthly to a dog-loving organization. I can't fathom why. Though, that so-called committee for dog lovers secured hundreds of acres on the outskirts of the city, built luxurious villas and a fancy club, yet only cornered off a tiny area with some shabby sheds and a few dog cages that housed some old dogs. Is she blind? Can she only see these old dogs and nothing else? Additionally, she supported many students. It seemed anyone who approached her and spoke of familial hardships or inability to afford education, no need to concoct stories of children left behind due to divorced parents, could easily make her tear up and generously provide financial support. 5. The eerie red sky, frowning and sighing, her villa was incredibly sturdy. Her father had made her swear before he died never to sell it or let strangers live there, so even though she was as poor as a church mouse all these years, she still lived quite comfortably. Before I went abroad, I even spent money to have her villa repaired and reinforced. Over the years, I've been buying her loads of food periodically to prevent her from starving. Just before moving into the sweet potato cellar, I sent her a large batch of goods. Originally, after discovering she gave away the items I bought for her, I told her, "The things I give you are for your own use, otherwise, we shall never see each other again in this lifetime." Since then, she has been very careful not to give away the things I sent her. This means as long as she stays put at home, even if there are zombies or bad people around, at most she would be scared but unharmed. After much thought, I decided to give her a call. The moment the call connected, I held my phone away from my ear, and sure enough, her excited scream came through. "Isla, you finally contacted me. Are you okay? Are you alive? Do you have food? Where are you? Do you know how terrifying it is outside?" Nexus of suffering. She went on non-stop for half an hour, staring coldly at the phone I had tossed on the table. I thought to myself, this is purely a vexing connection. It was my own fault. I shouldn't have been greedy because she tearfully placed $100 into my broken porcelain bowl and caught my attention. I begged her to adopt me, to get me registered for household status, to let me go to school. Maybe I should become like the orphanage director, squandering her support while mistreating those children, or like the dog farm owner, building estates and clubs with her money while hosting guests with dog meat, or even like those students she supported, buying luxury items with her money while deriding her as a dumb fool. Yet, I just couldn't bring myself to be so heartless. I forced her to stop those messy sponsorships and spent all my effort driving away those with ulterior motives around her, helping her to lead a normal life, restraining her overly compassionate heart. The more I did, the more she depended on me, turning into an unwieldy burden I couldn't shake off. Recalling those days when I, a child under 10, had to outsmart those scheming adults while she, far from being helpful, occasionally played the fool, I felt a surge of frustration. After she rambled for nearly an hour and finally slowed her speech, I picked up the phone and listened to her seriously. "Isla, I'm a bit scared." "Isla, are you scared?" "Isla, what should we do?" I sighed. "Don't be scared. You haven't had your water cut off, have you? Fill every basin and bucket you can find with water, just in case it stops running. There are plenty of bottled water in the basement. Don't drink it before the water cuts out. Ration it carefully if that happens. Over the next few days, start moving whatever you can use into the basement. Sleep there too, and make sure the door is securely locked. That door is very sturdy, nothing can get through unless it's blasted with a cannon. If you want to leave the basement in the morning, check the surveillance first to make sure it's safe. I recall there's a generator in the basement. You know how to use it, right? If there's nothing else to do, just watch some movies or TV, and don't overthink things. Where I am right now is safe, so don't worry about me. Just make sure you stay alive, and I'll definitely come for you. Jade, I'm warning you, don't let your compassion get the better of you. It doesn't matter who or what it is, human, bird, cat, or dog, you are not to save them. Don't open the villa's door until I get there. Got it, Isla? Why would you say that about me? Her tone was both hurt and plaintive. I'm not overly sentimental, I just have some empathy. Alright, don't worry, I know what's important. I understand the dangers outside. I promise I'll obey. I snorted in frustration. It was like dealing with a schoolchild, despite her being 30, promising to behave. After finally hanging up the phone, I stared at the 2 pictures Jade had sent me. They showed vacant stares, grisly wounds, pale skin, and tattered clothes. True zombies indeed. I browsed through various platforms and realized that the pictures Jade sent were actually quite restrained and subtle. There were many pictures and videos showing an eerie, deep red sky at dawn, not the orange red of a rising sun on the horizon, but a sinister, all-encompassing red. People react emotionally to the unknown, some with curiosity, others with fear. That morning, the curious went outside to gaze up at the red sky, chattering and looking around in groups. Before long, their eyes turned red too. They stopped looking at the sky and talking. Instead, they began to stare at each other with eerie looks and started fighting. Those who stayed indoors and didn't dare go out watched a brutal melee unfold until the fighters turned into bloodthirsty zombies, no longer attacking each other but following the scent of the living. Only then did everyone snap out of it and hurriedly lock their doors. Some had to watch their own family turn into zombies, crying out in pain. their cries attracting more zombies who climbed through windows and screamed until everything finally quieted down, leaving another group. Transformed into zombies, a chaotic world, filled with chaotic humanity, the strange red in the sky lasted for 3 days. During those 3 days, people outside have turned into zombies, vicious and violent creatures. Those indoors are divided into 2 groups. One is restless, initially expecting some sort of mutation, only to find they've become slightly more irritable. The other group, apart from fear, remains largely unaffected. Now, the functioning of society is severely compromised. People dare not leave their homes, use lights at night, or make loud noises. As zombies are highly sensitive to light and sound, society has come to a standstill. No work, no school, no outdoor activities. All we can do is stay indoors, protect those we can, and watch our food supplies dwindle while we wait in fear and uncertainty. I can't quite describe what I'm feeling. I'm a detached person. Over the years, I've planned my life meticulously, studying hard, entering a prestigious university, strategizing for my family's future, and then I entered a spiritual wasteland. As a child, I never had the naivety typical of kids. I understood every word my mother said. I knew my father wasn't reliable, and that once my mother was gone, my situation would be precarious. I hesitated when my father offered me a small cake. At that moment, I thought about how a child should see their father as a towering, dependable figure. How could I doubt him? I took the cake, thinking to myself, let's gamble once. If I'm right, I remain the innocent child. If wrong, then so be it. I lost that gamble, and since then, my life has been nothing but a series of clear-headed moments. During 2 years of traveling in an RV, I saw landscapes without really seeing them, tasted food without savoring it. I was anxious every day, lying awake at night in the RV, listening to the sound of the wind, rain, and snow hitting the roof, feeling like a wolf inside, desperate to howl. I've met many strange people. Once, while sitting on a bridge pier lost in thought, a delivery boy grabbed me and pulled me down. He was emotional, saying, "Why would a beautiful girl like you give up on life? Is it because of love?" I'm a man, but let me tell you, there's not a single man worth your sorrow. Stay away from them. It's not worth it for such trash. He earnestly advised. Everyone has tough times. Let me tell you, nothing is worth more than living. He shared his experiences. Let me tell you about my bitter childhood. That night, I laughed, thinking of the naive kid he was once, while sitting beside my RV drinking alone. Some men from the Northeast shouted from afar, "Sister, care to join us for a drink?" Just to clarify, no bad intentions here. We've got sausages and pickles. Just got tempted by the smell of your drink. What are you having? We've never tried it. They even sent a Northeastern girl to invite me over, a bright and spirited woman who, with her strong accent, said, "Did we scare you? Just a few rough guys here. Don't be afraid. We're just out traveling together." The person yelling earlier was my boyfriend. That evening, the lamb wine I had bought at a high price from an old farmer in Xiaoyi was completely consumed by them, and I also ended up with a pile of sausages and wuchang rice. Those were meant as gifts for their friends, but they decided to share them with me instead. I've also encountered hoodlums, con artists, old ruffians, and drunks who urinated on my car tires in the dead of night. I wonder if those diverse people, who once brought a hint of warmth to my cold heart, are still alive in this apocalyptic world. That enthusiastic young delivery guy, did he ever look up at the sky while on his delivery rounds? And those fierce men and women from the Northeast, driven by curiosity, would they point at the red sky? I sigh. In times of peace, my heart was cold, but now that the apocalypse has arrived, I find myself feeling melancholic. It's better to focus on practical matters, like checking my supplies. I have a child and a cat. My supplies are abundant. There's no need to worry about water or electricity, and I have plenty of food, clothing, and other necessities. I'm not one to waste or indulge excessively. I don't eat much meat, so there's not much in my freezer, though there is quite a bit of seafood. I have even more vegetables, and importantly, I have a greenhouse, which is enough for me to tinker around in. I even thought about waste management during renovations. My kitchen has a very powerful waste disposal unit. The toilet paper I use dissolves in water, so it doesn't need any special handling. I don't use sanitary pads. I switched from tampons to a menstrual cup because I found disposing of trash troublesome. Thus, I hardly have any household waste. At most, there are some food packaging bags, but that's not a big issue. I just wash, dry, fold, and store them. Being alone, I don't consume or use much, meaning I can stay in this sweet potato cellar for decades without issues. The cellar is well hidden. And the camper van outside, which I bought for over $3 million, is not only fully equipped but also safe. In case of an emergency requiring me to leave, the van can get me through anything. There's also a small castle. If anyone mistakenly wanders onto this farm and sees it, they'll probably assume the owner lives there, which could also help shield me. In short, I am safe. I don't know why the sky turned red, whether it's due to natural or man-made causes, nor do I know why those who look up at the sky turn into zombies. However, I believe in humanity's resilience. Zombies will eventually be eradicated, and human order will be restored. Our world is vast, and our history is long. We have survived numerous disasters, but, in fighting zombies and other malicious entities, sacrifices must be made, and efforts expended. What ordinary people can do is preserve themselves. I was lucky to have entered the sweet potato cellar early and didn't go outside when the sky changed. Jade was also lucky. She's a gaming enthusiast who often stays indoors for days on end, thus avoiding the most dangerous times. I checked the farm surveillance again. It was early winter when I entered the sweet potato cellar, and by then, almost all the leaves had fallen. The whole scene bore the desolate air of winter. Now, 2 or 3 months later, there's barely any change within the range of the cameras, except for a bit more desolation than when I entered. The withered weeds in the yard look messy and unkempt under the blow of the north wind. On the small road outside the farm, there has been almost no movement of people or vehicles these past few months. I should be thankful for this season. After entering winter, the farms further inside aren't as bustling as they were in summer. This place has become a haven, almost a utopia, detached from the city. Aside from Jade, this unpredictable ticking bomb, I need to spend some energy keeping an eye on her. For everything else, there's no need for extra worry. I continue to stay comfortably in the sweet potato cellar. I cook, manage my greenhouse, sometimes tinker with my toys in my private stash, or enjoy some tea. Of course, I keep up with the news daily and check on Jade's updates. On New Year's Eve, I made 2 plates of dumplings with leeks and shrimp I grew myself, cooked them, took photos, and sent them to Jade. I prepared a small dish with a bit of chili oil, mixed some vinegar and soy sauce, and was about to eat my dumplings when I checked my phone and saw no reply from Jade. I frowned. That wasn't right. Jade always replies instantly to my messages. As far as I knew, she hadn't lost power or internet since she had messaged me in the morning lamenting how pitiful it was that she couldn't even have frozen dumplings for the new year. Looking at the fresh dumplings in front of me, I thought to myself, this woman better not be causing any trouble. Otherwise, I'd be furious. I called her. The call went through, but she didn't pick up. I called again and again, and finally, after a long while, she answered. Isla. The moment I felt relief, my anger surged. All she said was, Isla, and then kept silent. Knowing her personality and from my understanding, she definitely must have gotten herself into trouble. Jade, what have you been up to? Did you pick up a cat or a child? She gasped on the other side. Isla, did you install surveillance in my house? I nearly choked on my dumpling, took a moment to catch my breath, and then fiercely whispered, Jade, you better explain yourself clearly right now. Her eyes see no evil, my eyes see no good. Jade stammered through an emotional story. The child was from a neighbor's. As dusk fell, the child's mother, holding her child, knocked on her door. Jade knew that under apocalyptic circumstances, compassion was a liability, but because it was New Year's Eve, she had come out of her basement to honor her parents and was met with heart-wrenching cries. Terrified and about to run back to the basement, she heard the mother pounding on her door, crying, I've been bitten, I'll turn into a zombie soon. Please, Jade, my child is not even a year old, save her life. Jade cracked open the door, the child was pushed inside, and as she was closing the door, a cat also darted in. The mother outside wept for a while, sobbing and murmuring. She pleaded, don't come out, don't open the door again. There are no good people. Not a single one. Gradually, Her sobs turned into howls. Jade then took the child, whose voice was hoarse from crying, and fled back to the basement. I asked wearily, "What about the cat?" Jade, still emotional from crying, was momentarily confused. "Cat? What cat?" "Oh, the one that ran in. It's upstairs, not in the basement. I think it's a stray with messy fur. I was worried it might hurt the child, so I kept it upstairs. Don't worry, I've left it some cat food, 2 bags of it." I rolled my eyes. "You are absolutely not to leave the basement again," she promptly responded. "Don't worry, I won't go out again. You see, I haven't stepped out since you forbade me, except for today," which was an exception. I grunted. "Do you even know how to take care of a 1-year-old?" She sounded unsure. "The formula should be fine to drink, but the one you bought is for adults. I'm not sure if that's okay. Soy milk powder might work too, right? She should be able to eat what I eat, right?" I really wanted to sigh. Why can't I hear the child? Is she asleep? Yes, yes. She cried for a long time and finally fell asleep. Thankfully I had my phone on silent, otherwise, your call would have woken her up. "I'm sorry, it's okay. Isla," she muttered. "Naughty Isla. I'm really afraid she'll start crying when she wakes up. You don't know. It's really scary when little kids cry. They're so hard to soothe." "Isla, you never cried as a child." I held back. "You found me when I was 9. Do you think a 1-year-old and a 9-year-old are the same?" "That's true, but little kids are so cute. Do you know that child?" "You probably don't. I've seen her many times. Her mother often pushes her in the stroller to sunbathe in the garden. She's a little girl named Kino. Her mother adores her, though I don't think I've ever seen her father." During this one phone call, she rambled on, causing my hot plate of dumplings to go cold. The child was illegitimate. Kino's mother was a college student who got involved with an older man in her senior year and moved into a villa after graduation. The old man rarely visited, and even when he did, it was only late at night, and he would leave early in the morning. Jade, naive as she was, naturally didn't think much about these things. Sitting with a cup of tea in the tea room for a long time, I sighed and finally stood up. Jade was my retribution. It's been almost a month since the zombie outbreak began. These days, most areas have lost internet, electricity, and water, and some families are already running out of food. Under the breakdown of social order, anything can happen. Jade's villa complex, due to its small population and location away from the city center, coupled with strong security measures, had only 5 or 6 zombies, those initially mutated or bitten, and this balance had been maintained for over a month. Why was it suddenly broken? Clearly, some people were running out of supplies. The child's mother might have been a scapegoat pushed forward. Why else would she instruct Jade not to open the door again before she turned into a zombie? But is Jade the type to heed advice? And that cat, where did a stray come from in a villa area? It must belong to someone. Perhaps it even has a camera installed on it. If it roams around Jade's house, what isn't seen clearly? Sometimes I really want to crack open Jade's skull to see what's inside. Doesn't she watch the news? Doesn't she know that in an apocalypse, the saintly ones are the first to go? The farm is over 100 miles from Jade's house. Driving there takes nearly an hour, and the current road conditions are unclear. Even if everything goes smoothly, the real headache is how to safely get Jade and the child out of the villa area. But I can't bear not to go. At this moment, Jade, still blissfully ignorant, might already have become prey to other residents of the villa area. I open the hidden door of the garage, enter the RV, take a deep breath, and take a gamble. I call Jade. "I'll be at your place in 50 minutes, pack everything you can, especially food, clothes, and necessities." I hear Jade's low scream on the other end. "Isla, you're really coming to get me? I've missed you so much. I've been scared to death here every day. I've wanted to live with you for so long." After shouting for a while, she becomes a bit anxious. "Isla, it's very dangerous outside. How are you coming here? Maybe you shouldn't. Those zombies are truly terrifying. This isn't a horror movie. Those monsters really eat people." I snort. "Enough, I'm driving the RV. Don't you know about my RV? It can't be damaged. Just hurry up and pack your things. When I arrive, open your front door. I'll back the RV right up to it, and we'll quickly load everything into the vehicle." All right, I'm packing now," Jade responds cheerfully. I can't help but laugh as well. these days. I know she really wants to be with me. She's timid and somewhat dependent, especially once she realized that I have a bit of an indulgent attitude towards her. She relies on me even more, in such an apocalyptic world. Although she isn't worried about food or clothing, she is still terrified of facing the unimaginable horrors and violence alone. I've felt this terror before, when I was kidnapped, when I was homeless, but she also knows, given the current situation, being alive is already a great fortune, and one can't be too demanding about having companionship, so, she just thinks about it, never really speaking out. Now that I've decided to go get her, this silly girl is thrilled. My RV is large, well-equipped, with a powerful yet quiet engine. Leaving the farm and entering the main road that leads to the city from the county, there are no anomalies. Continuing for about 20 miles on the main road, passing about 10 intersections and several roadside stores, I don't see anyone, nor any zombies. With no electricity, except for the twinkling stars in the sky, the entire world is pitch black. Ahead lies a township, with uniformly designed shops on both sides of the road. For about a mile, all 2.5-story buildings, seemingly part of a town-wide plan. I remember there being various shops, like a hardware store, a mutton restaurant, a stir-fry shop, and a milk tea shop. I once ate at the mutton restaurant. The meat is tender, the soup is flavorful, and I've got plenty of lamb from this shop stored in my freezer. Before entering the sweet potato cellar, I had it all custom ordered and packed in airtight containers to freeze. On this street, there must be someone, or perhaps zombies. Indeed, as soon as the car headlights shone on the lamb restaurant's sign lying by the roadside, I spotted vague human figures. I accelerated the car. On a bitterly cold night like this, anyone daring to roam outside couldn't be alive. Gritting my teeth, I floored the accelerator and charged forward. In the kilometer-long stretch of road, my car sped rapidly, yet it seemed to take an eternity. The bodies hitting the car made bang 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 sounds within the range of the headlights. Groups of zombies with their pale, bluish-purple skin, tattered clothes, and stiff movements almost made my hands cramp from gripping the steering wheel so tightly. Finally breaking free, I glanced in the rearview mirror to see the zombies that had been following the car now far behind. They couldn't match my speed. Wiping the cold sweat off my forehead, I breathed a sigh of relief. Past that small town, there were no more populated areas, so I chose to take the highway. The highway was in good condition and allowed for fast travel. I needed to reach Jade's place as quickly as possible. Luckily, the highway toll booth was open, and there was no one in sight. Without a second glance, I fiercely pressed on the accelerator. Half an hour on the highway, I saw over 20 cars haphazardly abandoned. Likely, the drivers had turned into zombies and, losing control of their vehicles, caused traffic accidents where most probably died. There were also a couple of zombies wandering on the road, but before they could react, my RV had already zoomed past them, exiting the highway. It was just about 10 more minutes to the villa area, and I started to feel nervous. Just as I was about to call Jade, my phone rang. Hastily answering, I heard Jade's trembling voice. Isla, someone's broken in. They're smashing the front door and the windows too. How many people? Four of them. Don't be afraid. I'm almost there. No, Isla, don't come. They have guns. It's Kino's dad. He's got a shotgun. I pressed the accelerator harder. Stop talking. Don't worry about belongings. Just hold the kids and be ready to leave from the basement as soon as I arrive. The shotgun won't be a problem. And don't hang up. The RV could enter the villa area. As soon as I reached the gate, it automatically opened, indicating that the villa had its own power system. Thankfully, Jade had previously added my license plate number to the gate's access system. Jade's house was on the east side of the villa area, right in front of a small plaza. I swung the RV around at top speed and reversed into her driveway. In the rearview mirror, I indeed saw some figures. I fiercely reversed the car towards the front door, startling the person there, and the moment I hit him, I darted to the side. The RV was firmly blocked against the entrance, and as the rear door of the vehicle slowly lifted, I shouted, "Jade, come out." Just then, a gunshot exploded next to my ear. I glanced at the car window beside the driver's seat. It was intact. I didn't dare turn off the engine. I only pulled the handbrake and leaped out, rushing towards the back. Jade, clutching a child tightly, ran like a rabbit. As she got on the vehicle, another gunshot sounded. The child was crying. As I pulled Jade forward, I yelled, "Cover her mouth." Jade's legs went weak, and she was nearly kneeling as I dragged her forward. I threw her onto the sofa, shut the rear door, and settled back into the driver's seat. While fastening my seatbelt, I kept my eyes fixed on what was ahead, for men were glaring fiercely at us. Kino's father was indeed wielding a shotgun, the other three, one with a baton, another with a long machete, and the last holding a mace. I yelled, "Have you all buckled up?" The sounds of Jade fumbling and the child's soft sobs filled the air. I grunted harshly, "Jade, you better sit tight. I'm risking my life here for you. And if you cause any trouble, I'll throw that kid too." The zombies, yes, all buckled up, came Jade's tearful voice. Without wasting a second, I released the handbrake and slammed the accelerator, charging straight towards those four men. At the critical moment, how could they possibly outrun a vehicle? They scattered faster than rabbits, with Kino's father nearly dropping his shotgun. Exiting the yard with a sharp turn, I sped towards the gate. The four men, furious and frustrated, chased after us for a few steps before gradually stopping. Once we left the residential area and drove for a few more minutes onto the main road, my pounding heart gradually calmed, and my trembling body steadied. Swallowing hard, my throat was painfully dry. Once on the highway, I finally managed to relax my grip on the steering wheel and flex my fingers one by one. Jade was crying, "Isla, can I come sit with you in the front? I'm scared." I swallowed hard again, working to keep my voice steady. "Come on, move quickly." Following Jade to the front was also the cat. I gasped in disbelief at my own speed as I grabbed the cat from Jade's shoulder and threw it out of the window with lightning speed. Jade stared at me, speechless, her mouth opening and closing without making a sound. I just grunted and kept driving. After a while, she cautiously spoke up, "Isla, cats don't eat much." I remained silent, and she muttered, "I can eat less." I replied coldly, "Should I stop the car so you can go back and pick it up?" She seemed a bit excited. Could I? My forehead veins bulging, I thought to myself how this naive idealist would be the death of me one day. "Sure, I can throw out this kid along with you, and the three of you can go to the afterlife together." She hugged the child tighter and shut her mouth. Jade, sitting in the front, was restless. Seeing the vehicles strewn haphazardly across the highway made her gasp. The sight of zombies wandering on the road made her exclaim softly. As we passed a small town and she saw zombies being knocked away by the RV, her screams got stuck in her throat, nearly choking her. Though terrified herself, she didn't forget to hold the little girl tightly and cover her eyes. Finally, we entered the farm, and as we neared the small castle, I hesitated for a moment. I finally resigned myself to the reality and drove the car back to the garage. Our little sweet potato cellar, shared among three people, was bustling with activity. Jade is not one to enjoy quiet, however. In my sweet potato cellar, she was unnervingly silent, not just quiet, but also incredibly helpful, washing clothes, cooking, and especially watching over the child. The child, not even a year old and unable to walk, crawled around as swiftly as a little rabbit. To prevent dampness, the cellar floor was covered with ceramic tiles. I prefer to walk around the house in socks, disliking slippers for comfort, so I laid carpets everywhere. Originally, I didn't have pets and barely produced any rubbish on my own, so a vacuum cleaner was all I needed for occasional cleaning. But then Jade came along, and with her, a 1-year-old child, who knew that taking care of a toddler could be so troublesome. At 5 in the morning, while I was deep in sleep, the child next door would start making noises. Waking up, I'd bury my head under the covers. I regretted my impulsive decision to merge 2 bedrooms during the renovation. Who said the cooing of a nursing baby was cute? Jade's day as an overwhelmed mother would then begin: diaper changes, hydrating, making formula, playing with toys, feeding mashed fruits and rice cereal, talking, soothing to sleep, lying down with the child. The list went on. Crying because of a wet diaper, crying because of hunger, crying because of thirst, and sometimes crying for no apparent reason at all. Lying in bed, I could hear Jade next door patiently coaxing, "Little Kino, be good, don't upset Isla." Jade, bless her heart, seemed foolishly saint-like, generously naive, almost like a spendthrift who didn't discriminate who she helped. Yet, She could also be incredibly shrewd. In a critical moment, with Kino's father menacingly holding a gun, I had told her to grab nothing but the child and get in the car, terrified nearly to the point of wetting herself. She still remembered to grab a large backpack. It was packed with baby food like formula and rice cereal, and shockingly, I even saw her pull out some children's clothes from the bag. When I stared at her, she sheepishly explained, "These were mine when I was little, my mom kept them all." Since Kino only had one set of clothes on, I brought out my old ones. I sighed. Time to get up. The Saint Mother was making sure the child was well cared for. I guess it was my turn to look after the Saint Mother. Besides, how much baby food can one backpack hold? I couldn't let the child starve. I'd have to figure out something she could eat. Glancing at my phone, the surveillance showed no anomalies around the farm in recent days. It was the third day since I had brought Jade back when the internet went down. Although it was irritating, I felt somewhat relieved that I had brought her back. Otherwise, with no way to contact her after the disconnection and given Jade's character, how she would have survived in these chaotic times was uncertain. I'm not fond of children, and that child probably sensed that I didn't like her, rarely coming close to me. Even when I walked past her, she humbly hides from me. She is extremely dependent on Jade, often clinging to Jade's legs and letting herself be dragged around, and she would tilt her little face up and call out, "Mama, Mama." Jade's heart melts. She picks her up and kisses her, bragging to me while kissing. "Isla, someone calls me Mama without me even giving birth. Aren't you jealous?" I'm in the kitchen, ignoring Jade's boasting, watching a horror movie while I make dumplings, wontons, stir-fried noodles, grind vegetable and fruit purees, and cook lamb, beef, chicken, fish, and shrimp meatballs, adding a big and a small person to my life hasn't changed much, except I spend more time in the kitchen. After all, eating meals for three is different from eating alone. It requires more variety and a bit more time and effort. After living cautiously for about 10 days, Jade noticed that aside from occasionally frowning, I was quite tolerant towards her and Kino, so she started to let loose. She found a fluffy housecoat in my closet to wear and, just like me, wandered around in socks. She carried the little girl into the tea room, exclaimed in awe, and spent the whole day there drinking tea until their bellies were round. She carried the little girl into the playroom, exclaimed in awe, and they played inside for days, impossible to call them out. She carried the little girl into the media room, exclaimed in awe, and they stayed there half the day until I dragged them out. Well, except for my private store and the greenhouse, she could play in there for days. She wanted to enter the greenhouse too. But unfortunately, knowing the little girl's capacity for destruction, I didn't give her the chance. The sweet potato cellar was quite lively. While I was sitting in the tea room drinking tea, I heard Jade outside saying, "Kino, how did you pee again?" "Oh no, you peed on the carpet. This is bad. Your sister Isla is going to be furious." I rolled my eyes, too lazy to bother with her. A month later, the little girl who liked to crawl on the floor like a little rabbit could walk. First, she stood holding onto the sofa, then slowly started walking with its support, and eventually, she got brave enough to let go and take a few steps. One day, she stumbled into Jade's arms, who was moved to tears with joy. Jade, thrilled, climbed onto my bed in the middle of the night to wake me up. Squinting my eyes, I listened to her ramble. "Isla, I don't know Kino's exact birthday, but it doesn't matter. She can walk now. So why not celebrate her birthday? Should we do a grabbing ceremony for the 1-year-old? Maybe we should try it. What should we prepare for the ceremony? Books, pens, money, seals. Do you have any musical instruments?" You don't have any, Isla. You can do anything but have no musical talent. You're tone deaf, so you reject all musical instruments. Too bad. And toys. Poor Kino doesn't even have toys to play with. There are lots of blocks in the villa. Too bad we didn't bring any. We need weapons too. You have some, Isla. I think I saw some controlled knives in your car the other day, and your clothes were bulging. What did you hide? But no, for the ceremony, we need fake ones. Real ones are not okay. We don't want to scare Kino. She spilled everything out like a bamboo tube pouring out beans. She wouldn't stop chattering, and just as I was about to say something to shut her up and get some peaceful sleep, the alarm by the bed started beeping. I jumped up. Jade was startled and quickly asked, "What's going on?" As I headed to the media room, I instructed her, someone might be coming. Just stay put and cuddle with the girl and go to sleep. The media room had one wall covered with surveillance screens. At the farm's main gate, there were two SUVs. Two men stood beside the vehicles, one tall and thin, the other short and stout. They were having a conversation. Brother, this place won't do, the stout one asked. It's deserted here, definitely no supplies. I remember, the owner moved abroad a long time ago, replied the other. Let's check the door. I recall coming here years ago. The owner had planted a lot of sweet potatoes. We've got nothing to eat. Some sweet potatoes would do. We need to feed the kids. All right, let's look. Opening the gate was easy. It was just an old lock, which the stout one smashed open with a hammer. They stayed inside the farm for nearly an hour. Besides the two men, there was a woman and two children. They indeed found some sweet potatoes and about a dozen dried persimmons on a tree. They also discovered the French-style chateau. The stout one wanted to check it out, but the thin one stopped him. No need, we can't stay here. It's been abandoned for years, surely no electricity or supplies. We can't just live on these sweet potatoes. Our target should be the estates inside that I know about. They have several underground clubs, very secretive, well-stocked, and even have their own water and power. The stout one looked worried. There must be people there. Can we get in? The thin one was silent. I've been to one, let's try it. If it doesn't work out, we can always come back. They left, and the farm's gate remained open. The two vehicles disappeared from the surveillance range. I somewhat regretted renovating that small chateau. Tonight, these people didn't break in, partly because of the farm's run-down appearance, making them think the chateau was uninhabitable, and partly because it was dark and they didn't go near the chateau to take a closer look. But what if they can't get into the clubs they want to reach and really come back? Even if they don't return, what if others, just as desperate, come here seeking refuge? I've decided to empty the chateau. It was also my oversight. I should have cleared it out when I knew about the zombie outbreak. Clearly, the cities affected by the outbreak are the most impacted. The denser the population, the faster the spread, and by the time everyone realizes the danger outside, staying indoors becomes even more difficult due to the lack of water and food. Inevitably, it leads to survival of the fittest, and people will go to any lengths for food. Those who can evacuate the city will try to do so. Returning to the countryside is the best choice. My farm, situated between the city and the countryside, is also a good alternative. If I want to safely hide in the sweet potato cellar, I must create the appearance that the farm is deserted. The farm is indeed deserted. But why did I have to go and renovate the chateau? Once someone comes in, sees the castle's new renovations and complete furnishings, they can naturally deduce that someone has lived there, or was about to. The chateau is sturdy and durable. It's hard not to want to stay for a while. If someone actually settled here, my garage and sweet potato cellar would be easily exposed. There was no time for hesitation. After giving Jade a few instructions, I got up and left. I drove the RV quietly to the base of the castle without turning on the lights, ascending the stairs in the dark. I swept through each floor like bandits entering a village, grabbing everything I could, regardless of size or weight. By the time I reached the ground floor, the RV was packed full. I hurriedly drove back, transferred some items to the sweet potato cellar, and then returned to sweep through the ground floor again. After a thorough sweep, I used my phone for light to check the place one more time. It wouldn't do. The interior was too clean, too new. In frustration, I grabbed a stick and started smashing windows from the third floor down, breaking several on each level. I also cut off the water and electricity and threw some dry branches and leaves inside. I didn't sleep all night. By dawn, the two vehicles hadn't returned. I didn't know if they had successfully entered the club or had vanished without a trace. Either way, I felt relieved and laid down in bed, falling into a deep sleep. When I woke, my body ached all over. It was already 4 in the afternoon, hearing some noise outside. I looked out to see Jade tidying up. She was carrying an electric pressure cooker in front, with Kino holding a small milk pot behind her. The little girl, seeing me suddenly, seemed startled, stumbled, and fell to the floor. She was well-fed and plump, so falling on the soft carpet didn't hurt, but she pouted and was about to burst into tears. Hearing the commotion, Jade turned, saw the little one about to cry. quickly put down the pressure cooker, and ran back to comfort her. Then, seeing me, she asked, "Isla, you're awake, how about some wontons?" I waved my hand. I needed some tea first. After comfortably enjoying a pot of tea and devouring a plate of dumplings, I felt much better. The previous night's rush had left everything taken out of the RV scattered on the ground. The two had mostly tidied up, but the RV was still full, and more items needed to be moved to the sweet potato cellar. A month slowly passed, and it was now March in the lunar calendar. During that month, 3 groups passed by the farm. The first was a mother and daughter who sped past the entrance of my farm in their car. The second was 2 men, possibly brothers, who stopped at the farm entrance, looked around, specifically at the castle entrance, and left cursing. As they left, one man went to the driver's side and the other to the passenger side. As they opened the doors, I faintly saw someone in the back seat, a very thin figure with their head down, leaning against the window. Possibly a woman. The third group seemed to be a family, in an RV, with a couple around 60, likely grandparents, a couple in their 20s or 30s, presumably their son and daughter-in-law, and a child even younger than Kino, resting in her mother's arms. The family spent a leisurely afternoon at the farm, digging up several bags of sweet potatoes. After winter, many of the sweet potatoes were ruined by frost, and others had sprouted due to the warmer weather. Not many were actually edible, yet Jade looked on longingly. Roasted sweet potatoes would be so delicious. I glanced at her, puzzled. There are so many in the storage room, all kinds of them, didn't you notice? Stunned, Jade suddenly dashed toward the storage room, exclaiming, "We're having roasted sweet potatoes tonight." Kino ran after her, stumbling and mumbling, "Potato, potato." By May, the farm was lush and green. The little girl kicked off her blankets at night, caught a chill, and ran a slight fever. Without children's fever medicine on hand, Jade hesitated with the adult fever medicine. Watching anxiously as the child's temperature neared 39 degrees Celsius, finally, with tears in her eyes, she gave the reduced dose to the child. The little girl didn't cry or fuss but obediently drank it and fell asleep in Jade's arms, looking drowsy and confused. A sick child can really wear out the adults. She was especially clingy, refusing to lie down in bed, only wanting to nestle in Jade's arms. Even holding her while sleeping wasn't enough, she had to be held in arms. I thought Jade was spoiling her too much, and tried to move the child to the bed, but Jade, clearly exhausted and unable to straighten her back, tearfully reached out to hold her again. Resigned to the situation, I just tossed them both onto the couch, propped Jade up with some cushions so she could lie back, and nestled the little girl into her arms. This way, Jade could rest as well, and the little girl felt held and stopped fussing. Children recover quickly. They're lethargic during a fever but bounce back as soon as it breaks. It was Jade who suffered more, looking completely worn out after 3 days of the child's fever. When they both finally perked up and started causing havoc in the sweet potato cellar again, I began to pay attention to the outside world. I never believed that the arrival of zombies meant the end of the world or the extinction of humanity, although it's unclear whether zombies originated naturally or were man-made. One thing is certain, nothing fights relentlessly to the death. Zombies are no exception. Initially, people were terrified because zombies were fast, strong, and bloodthirsty, catching many off guard. However, it didn't take long for people to recognize zombies' weaknesses. They avoid light, and without a supply of fresh flesh, their burst strength and lethality significantly diminish. Moreover, humans soon discovered that by destroying their brains, leaving only the bodies, zombies completely lose their aggressiveness, as long as zombies don't evolve. Defeating or even eradicating them is only a matter of time. Even further, if you think about it, zombies emerged in winter. Even if left unaddressed, by the time spring arrived, the flesh on their bodies would decay and stink, and by the end of summer, only skeletons would remain, which could easily be shattered with a single blow. The real concern is the period between the outbreak and the eradication of zombies. There will always be those with ulterior motives who do evil, contributing to the spread of zombies. I worry about people who can't hold out any longer and are forced to venture out in search of food, only to end up as food for the zombies themselves. What's even more terrifying is the possibility that the zombie virus is a man-made disaster, a weapon crafted by certain countries or organizations specifically targeting humans. or perhaps targeting us as an ethnic group. They might use the zombie virus to thin out the population first, and then strike us down when we're at our weakest. That would be the true catastrophe. Unfortunately, with no information available now, I can only hide in a sweet potato cellar, ensuring the safety of the three of us. These days, no one seems to pass by the farm anymore. I found an antique radio from years ago, fiddled with it for a while, and it still works, but there's no broadcast to be heard. It's as if the whole world has entered a state of silence. I'm feeling a bit anxious, which isn't normal. The zombie outbreak has been going on for over 4 months now. By this time, it should be under control, and the government should be issuing notices, telling everyone to stay calm and stay at home, waiting for the authorities to clear out the zombies and restore social order soon. But there's been nothing. This silence suggests that something is happening out of sight of us ordinary people. Looking back at the playful antics of my companions, one older, one younger, it seems much quieter here compared to the carnage outside and the unseen turbulent undercurrents. We might as well cherish this peaceful moment. One night in June, an RV rushed into the farm in a panic. I slept late, in the sweet potato cellar, lit only by lamplight and devoid of sunlight. Time didn't matter. My routine was casual: eat when hungry, sleep when tired, and just do my things at other times. Jade, that oddball, used to live just like me, eating, drinking, and sleeping whenever she wanted, but since she had her kid, she has become more structured, setting up a schedule, claiming it's for Kino's physical and mental health, not wanting to pass on bad habits to the child. I couldn't be bothered with her fuss, so I let her be. I still did things my way. Jade and Kino brought life to the sweet potato cellar. Since they knew I was a man of few words but very tolerant, they felt free to be noisy and lively with their chatter. I rarely found peace during the day to focus on anything, so I simply slept or read books, finding quiet time only when they were asleep at night. That night, after coming out of the greenhouse and washing some tomatoes, I walked into the media room. The beep of an alarm indicated that something had entered the surveillance area. Then I saw the RV. It belonged to the family that had dug up several bags of sweet potatoes from the farm. It must have been the child's father driving. He parked the RV in front of the castle, cautiously looked around, and seeing no danger, allowed the child's mother to get out. He took the child, helped the mother climb into a castle window using a stool, and with some effort, she finally managed to squeeze through the narrow window. The mother jumped down and quickly ran to open the door. Once the door was opened, her husband handed the child back to her, saying, "Go check upstairs, I'll bring the stuff in." The couple worked efficiently, the father hauling items from the RV into the castle, while the mother, holding the child, carefully checked upstairs. The RV was spacious, packed with everything one could need: food, clothing, and other essentials. The father acted swiftly, blocking the castle's entrance with the RV. It reminded me of the time I used my RV to haul things to the sweet potato cellar. In less than half an hour, he had emptied the RV. After exploring the entire castle, the mother gently laid down their sleeping child and started helping her husband organize their belongings. The father drove the RV to the back of the castle. Compared to mine, his RV was quite small, practically hidden behind the castle and camouflaged by weeds, making it hard to spot unless you looked closely. This was a clever move. The couple spent the night in the dark, tidying up. The man found some construction debris to fix the windows I had shattered. They moved almost everything from the RV to the 3rd floor. The man relocated the living room coffee table to the staircase between the 1st and 2nd floors, and the desk from the 2nd floor to the staircase leading to the 3rd floor, probably as a barricade in case someone entered the castle. Despite his gentle demeanor, he was surprisingly strong. The castle was not large, the staircases narrow, and both the tea table and the desk were heavy, so heavy that I would have probably moved them to the sweet potato cellar if they weren't. It was a tight squeeze, but the two managed to get everything in place after much effort. The 3rd floor bedroom was mostly intact from when I moved, with only clothes and bedding taken. The bed was round, just like the one in the sweet potato cellar, and the mattress was still in place. After settling in, the couple collapsed onto the bed. The wife nursed their half-awake child, while the husband lay beside her in silence. After a while, the child, now full, hummed and drifted back to sleep. The mother softly asked, "Hugo, can we survive this? After a pause, the man replied in a hoarse voice, yes, we must survive. Our parents sacrificed their lives for this chance. We have to live on. The mother sobbed quietly, her cries subdued. The man sighed, don't cry, let's rest now. I'll take a break too. This farm has been abandoned, which is good. At dawn, I'll go out to find water and food. We brought a lot with us, but we can't just sit here and consume it. The night was quiet, and soon the sounds of the woman's sobbing faded away. Hugo's father was a diligent man. At night, he would carefully leave the castle to fetch water from the river and search for food on the farm. Despite years of neglect, the June farm still offered plenty to harvest. He collected many melons and cucumbers, cut a lot of chives and celery, picked a couple of oddly shaped watermelons, and gathered numerous tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers, along with plenty of potatoes. On the west side of the farm, there was a grape arbor that grew wild without management, yielding few fruits. He picked 5 or 6 bunches and, presenting them to his wife, he smiled. His wife burst into tears and threw herself into his arms. He patted her back, comforting her. Don't be scared, don't cry, you love these sunshine roses, go ahead and eat. I noticed he was a very attentive man, spending days watching from a third-floor window, keeping an eye on their surroundings. On one hand, he was always on alert, on the other, he was constantly on the lookout for anything edible around him. Thus, when he ventured out at night in search of food, he was very clear in his purpose and quick in his actions. He seemed to possess significant wilderness survival skills. I inferred this when I saw him transporting supplies from the RV to the castle. His family must have been seasoned in RV travel, which is why their survival skills seemed quite adept. He gathered resources like ants moving house, not only collecting food but also hauling various planks and farm tools that I had scattered around the farm during a renovation into the castle. He even ventured into an abandoned planetarium and a straw hut, hauling back every bit of broken furniture and other assorted items into the castle. He even dismantled several of the planetarium rooms, carefully disassembling the transparent hard plastic piece by piece, washing them by the river, and then returning them to the castle. He took apart several straw huts too, taking the wood, bricks, and even the thatch from the roofs, bringing everything back to the castle. After more than 20 days of hard work, he had almost filled the first and second floors of the castle to the brim, reducing the frequency of his trips outside. I finally understood the purpose behind his extensive collection. He used a saw to dismantle many planks and pieces of furniture, arranging them in precise lengths around the first floor, transforming it into a wood storage room. He was a patient and meticulous man. The wood was neatly arranged, and near the windows, he specifically reused the hard plastic from the planetarium to fortify the area, which was clearly more wind and rain resistant than wood. The second floor was filled with various tools, including saws, rulers, drill bits I had discarded during renovations, and various farm tools left by the original farm owner. He built several racks by the south-facing windows to dry the collected vegetables and fruits. He skillfully built a stove and cooked beans, eggplants, potatoes, then dried them, preparing for winter. One day in July, he was holding his child, a girl around 7 or 8 months old, who was very easy to care for. The mother, not producing much milk, had already started the baby on solid foods like millet porridge, flour paste, and vegetable puree. The baby was easygoing, rarely cried, and would smile whenever her parents played with her. While playing with his daughter, he casually discussed plans with his wife. When it gets cooler, I'll set up a planetarium on the 3rd floor, cover the bed, and surround it with thatch to keep us warm in winter. His wife, busy sorting through the child's clothes, replied, Hugo, you're so creative. I was just thinking that although this castle is nice, it's too hot in summer and too cold in winter. She added with a hint of frustration, the baby has plenty of clothes, but not enough for winter. I'm afraid she might get cold. She looked up at her husband, about to say more, but stopped upon seeing his face turn pale. On the road outside the farm, someone was approaching from the east. It was a frail figure dressed entirely in black. Despite the hot July weather, the person wore a hooded top, the oversized hood half covering their face, making it hard to discern their gender. Their walk was stiff and unsteady, stumbling along in a twisted manner, yet not appearing flexible, which seemed odd. Behind them, A car followed at a distance. I zoomed in on the image for a closer look. It seemed to be the same car that had passed by in March. Driven by the two brothers sat in the car, eyes fixed intently on the person ahead, their expressions tense. Inside the castle, the couple was extremely on edge. The wife clutched her husband's arm tightly. "Honey, it's those three siblings. They must have been driven out," she said. The husband remained silent, simply patting her hand. Slowly, the figure and the vehicle approached. Eventually, the person stopped next to the bamboo fence of the farm, and the vehicle also came to a halt. The couple inside the castle grew even more anxious. The husband whispered to his wife, "Take the baby to bed, feed her, and make no noise." Trembling, the wife cuddled the child in bed. The husband leaned against the wall by the window, watching the figure and the vehicle intently. I too watched them closely. The figure had come much closer now, and I could zoom in on the screen to clearly see her face, pale, no, ashen, with patches of bruising. Her skin had a battered look as if it had been forcefully squeezed numerous times. Occasionally, the eyes peeking from beneath the brim of the hat appeared lifeless. Yes, the eyes were foggy, as if covered with a film. No, a black film. I frowned, unsure whether it was black or white. I couldn't quite capture the state of her eyes. Her long sleeves revealed only half of her fingers, tipped with black nails, while the visible part of her fingers was a mottled black-gray. I took a deep breath. This was a zombie, no wonder. 3 months ago, when those brothers placed their sister in the back seat, something seemed off. Perhaps by then, she had already been infected with the virus. It was odd. She seemed different from the zombies I saw in videos and the ones I encountered on the road while picking up Jade. She appeared non-aggressive, at least towards the two people following in the car. She showed no particular reaction. I remember when I went to pick up Jade, the zombies in the town rushed towards my car, eager to attack. The zombie wandered for a while before finally moving forward slowly. As she approached the farm gate, like the man in the castle, I was on edge, worried she might come in, even more concerned her brothers might follow. Fortunately, she ignored the farm gate and continued moving, though slowly, without stopping. 2 hours later, the zombie and the car disappeared from the surveillance area. Inside the castle, the tense couple finally relaxed. The wife, tearful, said, "Honey, the baby, I can't hold him anymore." The man rushed to pick up the child but stumbled and fell onto the bed, both gasping for air. Relieved to have survived the ordeal, too, breathed a sigh of relief, left the media room, and smelled the steak. Time to get a bite. Jade's cooking skills are improving. 18. For the next 10 days, there were no unusual incidents. Life inside the castle resumed its routine, with the woman caring for the child and the man foraging for food. I didn't monitor the cameras daily anymore, just occasionally checked for any abnormalities around the farm. Jade often lamented that Kino had no toys to play with. I remained indifferent as she and the little girl rummaged through every room, disrupting my potato storage. Under her indulgence, the child ran wild, except for the few locked rooms. She wreaked havoc everywhere. I didn't feel pity for the girl. On the contrary, she seemed quite happy, but having nothing better to do and with all the tools and materials in my hobby room, I hadn't crafted in a long while, so I decided to get busy. I made a simple set of colorful square puzzles and building blocks. Jade was more excited than the little girl, playing with them all afternoon and evening, creating various shapes like little chickens, ducks, and dogs. Where had the little girl seen so many animals? She was thrilled following Jade around, and I worried about how she'd react seeing real chickens, ducks, and dogs once she grew up and ventured outside the potato storage. Seeing their excitement, I got creative too. One day making a set of numbers, another day letters, and then pulling out a dozen Barbie dolls. Jade almost screamed, "Isla, I love you so much for using such expensive wood to make all these toys for Kino." She then clutched her heart in mock despair. "Isla, aren't you also working with Jade? I want some too. The ones you gave me before are still at my place, and I cherish them deeply." I teased her. "You even thought of bringing your childhood clothes for this little girl. You threw away the jewelry I gave you. Where?" She covered her face. "Isla, my beauty needs to be highlighted." "All right." I tossed her a bracelet and a beaded wristband. She exclaimed, "Isla, I love you. I also threw her a small bracelet and a small wristband, spinning around with her little girl in her arms. She chirped, matching with Mommy, Isla, I love you to death. The little girl, clueless, didn't understand why her mom was spinning around so giddily, but it didn't stop her from joining in the laughter. As the days went by, Jade was incredibly busy, turning from a homebody into a whirlwind of energy. She would wake up early to cook, call the little girl to eat and drink, clean up after meals, play games and play with toys, cook again, and after another round of meals and naps, she'd still have the energy to come to my room for a chat after the little one fell asleep. I closed my eyes, pretending not to hear her. Isla, life is really good now. Isla, I wonder how it is outside. Isla, I hope the family living in the castle are okay. It's sad, if it weren't for you, Kino. And I would probably be worse off than them. Isla, do you think things will ever get back to normal outside? Although I feel we are safe and comfortable, I am a bit worried about the people outside. Isla, when things return to normal, are you going to send me and Kino away? Isla, oh, I remember my dad made me swear not to let strangers stay in our house. How could I forget that I could stay at someone else's? Poor me. I've been lonely and cold for so many years. Isla, what would you like to eat? Tomorrow, Isla, I want another bracelet, a bunch of them, maybe 10 on one arm, haha, like a rich lady. She rambled on until she fell asleep, forgetting to return to her own room, which left me to carry the sobbing little girl into her arms in the middle of the night, and I ended up sleeping on a sofa in the tea room. The weather got cooler. On the night the men from the castle picked the last few beans from the farm, the alarm went off again. Since the family of 3 moved into the castle, I had turned off several security cameras and alarms except for the one at the main gate. I quickly checked the monitors, my heart tightening as 3 vehicles slowly approached from the east, stopping at the farm gate. All were SUVs. 3 men stepped out, one tall, one short, one thin, each was carrying something. The 3 stood at the gate, surveying the area. The short one asked, this farm has been in ruins for years, right? Is it livable? The tall one replied, where else is livable nowadays? At least here there's a small castle. It's getting colder, and as long as it shelters us from the wind and rain, it's fine. We can't go back anyway. The thin one added, this farm is too close to that place. We left early, but others will eventually come out. It's best we take over here now. Who knows if there are any more livable places further ahead? The short one sighed, this road to the west ends here. We can either go north back to the city or south through the town, but I guess the town is probably full of zombies too. The tall one said, the zombies in the town aren't much of a threat if we're in the car, but we're running low on fuel. I'm not sure how far we can get or if we can find a place to stay. We might as well make do here for now. The 3 of them headed towards the castle. I zoomed in with my camera to see what they were carrying. One had a wooden stick, another wielded an axe, and the third held an iron rod. I quickly turned on the castle's surveillance. The couple inside was visibly tense. The woman clutched her child tightly. Huddled in a corner, the man gripped a sharpened wooden stick, standing by the window facing the 3 men, watching them closely. The trio first tried the door, found it locked, tapped on it, and realized it was solidly built and not easily broken. They then moved towards a window. The tall one glanced over and remarked, why is it all just firewood? Everything? Asked the shorter one. The tall one stacked some stones under the window to peer inside. Yeah, almost all of it, neatly arranged. Looks like this castle was used as a barn by the farm. If we can't get through the door, we'll have to go through the window. This window is pretty narrow, though. Skinny, think you can fit? I'll give it a shot. The tall one added, wait, this window has been barred with wooden planks. Let's check the others. They hadn't walked far when they spotted the couple's RV inside the castle. They immediately stopped, exchanged glances, and stood quietly against the castle's wall. Silence. The couple inside remained silent. The 3 men outside also kept quiet. After a while, the skinny one called out, it's the Hugo brothers, right? Looks like you and your family made it here. They waited but received no response. The skinny one continued, Hugo brothers, you had the foresight to escape early. It's unbearable back there, so we 3 had no choice but to find another way to survive. Look, we're running low on fuel, and this castle is quite spacious. Could you shelter us for a bit? After more silence, the tall one, growing impatient, shook his axe. The shorter one calmed him down, and he stood still again. Hugo brothers, you must be staying on the third floor, right? How about this? We'll just stay on the first floor, and we promise not to go up. We won't disturb each other. What do you say, brother? Look, if we weren't desperate, we wouldn't have come to bother you. If it really comes to a fight, you with your wife and child won't stand a chance against the three of us, Hugo. Brothers, stepping back a bit, you know the situation out there, or else you wouldn't have escaped early. Honestly, I really admire what your old man did, risking himself to secure a way out for you. You heard about those three troublemakers leaving recently, right? Did they pass by here too? Didn't come in? Hugo brothers, you understand that more and more will come here in the future. 3 estates, dozens of people. Do you really think you can defend this castle by yourself? How about, shall we each take a step back? You let us in, and we promise not to harm your family. How about we cooperate? Inside the fortress, the family remained silent. I hesitated. When this family of 3 took over my castle, I was somewhat displeased, but over time, the man proved capable, the woman was virtuous, and even the little baby hardly cried. The man was like a tireless gardener, meticulously organizing everything in the castle, hoarding a lot of supplies and keeping everything neat and clean. The woman seemed fragile but was very resilient. She managed almost everything on the 3rd floor. She wrapped the child in a long scarf and tied it to her chest, sometimes carrying the baby on her back, soothing the child while continuously working with her hands. One afternoon, while sorting clothes and chatting with her husband, she said, "Honey, even though the castle was a bit messy and dirty when we arrived, with several broken windows, it feels like it was renovated not long ago." The man responded, "This farm had been abandoned for a long time. The fields were a mess, and the fruit trees and vegetable patches looked unattended. But yes, the castle does seem newly renovated, and," he added hesitantly, "there's a new garage at the foot of the northern mountain." The woman was surprised. "New? It looks rather worn out." "It's new, made to look old. I guess someone took over the farm before the virus outbreak, refurbished the castle and the garage, but didn't get a chance to tidy up anything else before the virus hit." The woman sighed. "It's our good fortune." The man said no more, but I guessed he was thinking more than he shared with his wife. He scavenged the farm for food and supplies, but he never stepped near the garage. There were many fruit trees around the garage, peaches, pears, persimmons, laden with fruit, yet he never picked any. He never even glanced extra at the garage, probably guessing that someone was inside. This man had a sense of propriety. Over time, I had come to accept the presence of this family. I hoped they could keep the castle. They were modest and industrious, and I did not want the castle, especially after such long and hard work by the family to get it clean and tidy, to be plundered by 3 rogue men. The 3 men, while verbally assuring the man inside the fortress, had divided their tasks. The shorter one continued to shout, while the taller and the skinny one climbed onto the motor home, with an axe in hand and assisted by the taller one. The skinny one was climbing towards a 3rd-floor window. Clearly, they guessed the family was hiding on the 3rd floor and planned to break in through the window. I frowned. These 3 had no intention of coexisting peacefully with the family. They were up to no good. I hesitated, wondering whether to intervene. 1 against 3, although the castle was easier to defend than to attack. The disparity in strength made the outcome unpredictable. I decided to observe. A silent yet heart-pounding struggle ensued. The man stabbed the skinny one in the eye with a dinner knife tied to a stick, causing him to groan and fall onto the motorhome. The tall and the short one muttered furiously under their breath, not daring to forcefully attack, so they picked up stones and threw them at the window. As the glass shattered, the shorter assailant continued to hurl stones while the taller one climbed up to the window, shielded by stones. The taller one, axe in hand, climbed through the window, hacking it open. In a fierce act, he chopped off the steak knife that was tied to a wooden stick by the man. The woman screamed, trembling as she covered her child's mouth, seeing the tall one almost squeezing through. The man desperately grabbed a stone that had just been thrown in and smashed it. With half his body wedged in the window, the tall one could only swing the axe with one hand, limited in his movements. He was hit in the head by the man's stone, his eyes blood-red with rage. He roared, leg crossing over as he raised his arm to strike down with the axe on the man's head. The woman cried out in alarm, suddenly getting up, grabbing the steak knife from the floor, and thrusting it into the temple of the tall one from the side. The tall one froze, slowly turning his head in disbelief towards the woman who had just hidden in the corner. Before he could react, the man snatched his axe and ferociously chopped at his head. One dead, one injured, already climbing onto the other window ledge. Planning to sneak into the third floor while the couple inside was distracted by the tall one. The shorter one quietly slipped back to the ground. I breathed a sigh of relief. The courage shown by the couple inside the castle impressed me, especially the wife's decisive stab at the critical moment. Although it ended with a single blow, and she collapsed weakly to the floor, she effectively resolved the crisis, at least giving her husband the opportunity to kill the tall one, boosting his morale. It's evident that people can unleash immense potential when pushed to their limits. At that moment, the man pushed the tall one out of the window, who fell from the third floor onto the roof of an RV and then slid to the ground. The thin man hiding beside the RV was startled, touched the tall one, then sprang aside as if electrocuted. He pressed against the castle wall, hesitating, but then heard the sound of a car engine starting. It was the shorter one. Seeing the tall one lose his life, he lost his ambition to storm the castle, and didn't even care for his injured thin companion. Planning to drive away, the thin man quickly reacted and ran towards the car. Unfortunately, their luck was poor. The dead tall one's car was at the front, the narrow road less than 4 meters wide. Normally 2 cars could pass by sticking to the sides, but since they had carelessly parked in the middle of the road when they arrived, they couldn't get through. The shorter one cursed as he got out of the car to move the tall one's car to the side, only to see several headlights flashing speedily. Approaching, 3 more cars arrived. I immediately stood up, glanced at Jade, who looked worriedly at the monitor screen. Stay put here, absolutely do not go out. I'll go help that family. Okay, Jade quickly agreed, though a bit confused, and even followed me outside. At the entrance of the sweet potato cellar, I stopped Jade. Stay here, keep an eye on that little girl. If you dare to go out on your own, when I come back, I'll throw that little girl out. Jade jumped back, retreating. Got it, don't scare me, come back soon. I snorted, opened the door, and cautiously went out. It was my first time stepping out of the sweet potato cellar. The air outside was quite different from inside. Taking a deep breath, I steadied my mind. I grabbed the high-precision crossbow from the RV, one of my toys, hiding behind a tree 20 meters from the castle. 6 men were already standing at the castle's entrance. These 6 men were extremely arrogant, standing in front of the main gate of the castle, discussing brazenly. One person exclaimed, "No way, the 3 of you, 1 dead, 1 injured, weren't you guys cunning, faster than monkeys, even zombies don't scare you, and you got taken down by this couple." They laughed wildly. One mocked, "Are you guys pigs? Couldn't you just start a fire, toss a fire in there, and wouldn't their formation be thrown into chaos? Do you really think they're invincible? Is that the right idiom? Am I using it correctly? Ha ha ha." Another person shouted, "Hey, you 2 up there, listen up, come down here obediently and I'll give you a quick death, otherwise, you can go join your dear mom and dad, turning your family of 5 into zombies. Wouldn't that be fun?" One threatened, "I warn you, don't push your luck. 2 against 3 you might stand a chance, but 2 against 6, once we storm up there, I'm not saying much, but the woman will first entertain the boys, and the kid, isn't there something off with their kid?" One replied. "Not really. When we were at that farm, I remember he was still in his mother's arms." The one who made the threat laughed wickedly. "The little brat, so tender. I haven't tasted meat in days, definitely need to try some barbecue." Right. While discussing, they moved without much strategic planning, simply following the same route as the previous trio. 1 tall, 1 short, 1 thin. The only difference was, they had more people and more tools. I aimed my crossbow at the person on top, in his hand. He held an axe, different from the one the tall man had not long ago. This axe, even in the dark night, felt sharp from over 20 meters away. He climbed to the left side of the 3rd floor window but didn't rush to attack, just quietly stood on a platform less than a foot wide between the 2nd and 3rd floors. Within a few breaths, another person climbed to the right side of the window, holding a machete. Both were positioned, and then a 3rd person started climbing up, holding something unclear on the roof of the house. 3 more were laughing. "Hey, guys, Don't end up like those losers, wiped out by that couple, ha ha ha, I sneered, feeling a long-suppressed anger about to erupt. Taking a deep breath, I turned the crossbow and fired 3 shots in quick succession. The 3 men on the roof suddenly fell silent and dropped off the roof. I turned the crossbow again, not waiting for the 3 climbing to the 3rd floor to react. I shot the man reaching to throw something into the window first, then the man holding the axe, and finally the one with the machete. Good, these 3 ended up worse than the ones on the roof. They fell directly from the 3rd floor. Oh, one hit the roof first, then slid off to the ground. I put away the crossbow, looking at the short man who was standing at the farm's gate. He screamed and ran, getting into the front car, and after a while, he drove away erratically. Lucky him. Glancing at the thin man's car following behind, he was lucky too. I am very confident in my shooting skills since during those years abroad, I played with many toys not available back home. The crossbow was the simplest of weapons, and the 6 people were destined to die. I climbed down from the tree slowly, hurried back to the garage, and then to the sweet potato cellar, once again sitting in the audiovisual room, drinking the hot tea Jade handed me and watching the couple clean up the battlefield. I suddenly felt a sense of complete relaxation. Jade blinked her starry eyes and exclaimed, "Isla, you are so amazing, you scared me to death. My admiration for you is like the endless flowing of a mighty river, and like the yellow river flooding uncontrollably." I gave Jade a look, sometimes really puzzled by her way of thinking. A flower of the nation who grew up in peaceful times, she probably had never even seen a chicken killed. Yet how come she adapted so quickly when faced with zombies? I watched the screen as the couple acted smartly. Each drove a car. The man's car carried the bodies. About 10 minutes later, they returned, the man now in the woman's car. After returning, they each drove another car and ended up with one less car. This repeated several times until only one car was left, which they drove back to the farm, near some dilapidated thatched huts, and covered it with some dry branches and leaves. I smiled as I watched the couple gather a large haul of items scavenged from the cars, carrying them into the castle. It seemed that despite the fright they experienced that night, their gains were substantial, until I saw them go up to the 3rd floor, the wife soothing the child and the man organizing things. A mix of fear, surprise, and uncertainty continuously changed their expressions as they quietly discussed who could have helped them and how they were so capable. Then, I turned off the surveillance. Another New Year's Eve. Kino had fallen asleep. Jade brought the panel into the audiovisual room. Naturally, there was no spring festival gala, but she insisted that I play a light-hearted, happy movie. Home Alone was a perfect choice for her. As expected, she was overjoyed, laughing heartily as she wrapped dumplings. Regrettably, there were no eggs. The dumplings were filled with chives, pork, and shrimp. I'm not fond of eggs, so I initially prepared less than 100, cooked them, and froze them directly in the freezer, planning to eat one whenever I felt like it. Now that we had Kino, a young child who needs eggs, Jade hesitantly told me to save the eggs for Kino, and I couldn't even bother to roll my eyes at her. Now, craving chive and egg dumplings, I was out of luck. Jade chattered away, skillfully tossing dumpling wrappers my way. I felt myself growing more patient, leisurely wrapping dumplings, my ears filled with Jade's chatter and the screams of the villains on the TV, not finding it noisy at all. After each of us had a large plate of dumplings, Jade cooked and cooled the rest, planning to fry them for breakfast the next morning since Kino liked fried dumplings. After cleaning up, just as I was about to turn off the audiovisual room and head to bed, the surveillance alarm went off. This time, it wasn't a car or people, but zombies. Dozens of zombies were moving quickly along the path from east to west, which was unusual. When the zombie outbreak first occurred, it was highly contagious. People would turn into zombies in a short time, becoming very aggressive and fast-moving, but after that phase, they would become sluggish and still attack people. Though it seemed more random, their movements were no longer nimble and brisk. Their bodies stiffened as if the skin and muscles were gradually desiccating, resembling dried cured meat clinging to the bones, shriveled and grotesque. Typically, those transformed into zombies have suffered some bodily harm, and the injured flesh tends to decay the fastest. It has been over a year since the outbreak. Through the wear of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, these zombies should have been reduced to mere skeletons by now. However, observing these dozens of zombies today, There indeed are some that show their skeletal frames, but most still maintain a human-like appearance, albeit their once pale and plump flesh has turned shriveled and dark. I adjusted the surveillance direction atop the castle, gazing towards the distant highway. It was a mass of darkness. The night of New Year's Eve was inherently dark, but normally, that highway faintly glows a hazy white at night. Reminiscent of a winding river, tonight, this river has turned a dark gray, resembling a centipede, slowly stretching and writhing. Goosebumps covered my body. Jade seldom monitored the cameras, and wasn't as informed about the outside as I was. Puzzled, she asked, "Isla, what's wrong?" I didn't tell her that the road, writhing like a centipede, was likely covered in zombies, probably what legends refer to as a zombie tide. Sure enough, it wasn't long before those dozens of zombies from the east merged into that road, becoming indistinguishable parts of the writhing mass. Jade's mouth hung open in shock. I frowned, sensing something amiss. It seemed as if these zombies were being drawn to something, as if they were relentlessly marching towards a specific place. The dense tide of zombies continued until past 3 in the morning. Around 4 o'clock, a huge fire erupted in the distance. Countless incendiary bombs fell from the sky, and I realized they were likely clearing out zombies, using some method to herd the zombies into an open area, then annihilating them with fire. This was probably the safest and quickest way to eradicate the zombies and the virus. I sighed. Another month passed in the long stretch of time. During this period, every few days, a batch of zombies was burned. It was clear that there was an organized, systematic effort to clear them out, in preparation for restoring normal societal order. On the day of the Dragon Raising its Head festival in February, my phone rang. Startled, it took me a moment to fish out the phone that Kino had tossed into the sofa crevice, and I looked at the short number displayed on the screen. It was my mentor. "Isla, no nonsense. I know you're still alive, and living quite comfortably. Tonight, 2 military unit soldiers will parachute into your area. Make sure you take care of them, and cooperate properly." The call had ended a while ago, but I remained dazed for a moment. Jade came over and slapped my face gently. I snapped back to reality, smiling. "It will be back to normal soon." Jade paused, confused. What? I glanced at Kino, who was staring with eyes as round and puzzled as hers, and chuckled. "Kino will soon see lively chickens, ducks, and geese." Jade, like an excited old mother, prepared a feast while chattering about how tight-lipped I was, making her struggle to get the details, and not forgetting to sternly warn Kino against eating raw dough. At 10 o'clock that evening, I opened the garage door, and in the open space in front of it, a pile of firewood was stacked up. Around midnight, a helicopter roared overhead and hovered above the farm. Soon, 2 soldiers and a large box were quickly dropped down. A company commander and a soldier. They sat at the dining table in the sweet potato cellar, staring in amazement at the dozen plates of dumplings in front of them. Half an hour later, Jade and I sat in front of the empty plates, equally stunned. The company commander was slightly embarrassed. "Doctor, sorry about that. It's been a long time since I've had dumplings." I blinked and laughed, almost forgetting that my last name was Gao, and that I was a doctor. The commander explained that their mission was to search for survivors and transport them to a safe base. According to the plan discussed with my mentor, using my RV, along with 2 soldiers, we would first search for any remaining zombies. Once the area was cleared of zombies, we would call for survivors to head to the safe base. Those who could make it on their own would go by themselves. The elderly, weak, sick, and disabled who couldn't make it on their own would be transported in the RV. I decided to join them. We filled the car with fuel and took an extra barrel of oil. In one day, we traveled 300 to 400 miles and blew up 30 to 40 zombies' heads. The commander and his team were quite experienced. 1 shot to the head, then a small incendiary grenade would burn the decapitated zombie to ashes. In the evening, we returned to the farm, cleaned up in the RV, and then went back to the sweet potato cellar for a warm meal. We set off again at dawn. After a week, we had nearly cleared the area and needed to venture further, not planning to return the same day, so we packed more supplies. Jade was a bit reluctant to leave. I patted her shoulder, thinking of the family in the castle and feeling worried. I repeatedly instructed her not to go out and to stay put in the sweet potato cellar until she swore she absolutely wouldn't leave. When we arrived at the castle, I saw a man named Hugo standing outside the castle gate. I stopped the car. He approached us. "Hello, I guess you're here to clear the zombies. Could I, perhaps, also help out? I looked back at the commander, who glanced at Hugo and then asked me, who is he? I smiled. He's just someone who happened to stay in this castle, a family of 3, him, his wife, and their daughter, who is even younger than Kino. The commander nodded at Hugo. In a few days, once we've cleared the area, you can move to the safe base. Hugo nodded. Thank you. Then, looking at me, I'm sorry, I never knew your surname. Thank you for saving our lives. My family owes our survival to your care. He bowed deeply and then looked at the commander. I hope I can also contribute. He got into his own RV, waved goodbye to his wife and daughter, and joined us on our journey. With 2 RVs, our efficiency greatly increased. As we cleared remaining zombies, we also escorted the elderly, weak, sick, and disabled towards the safe base. Soon, a long convoy followed behind us, including sedans, SUVs, vans, and more RVs. Human survival instincts are indeed formidable. Perhaps it was the experience of the pandemic that many people had long stored grains at home, and some even had survival kits ready, although there were instances of survival of the fittest. And many innocents who escaped zombies could not escape the malice of human hearts. Thankfully, where there are people, there is hope. After a good half-year, I used up all the gasoline I had stored, and only then was I able to complete the cleaning and transportation work in the surrounding areas. When the company commander left, he took a family of 3 from the castle with him. The couple, leading their little girl who could now walk, came to say goodbye to me. I helped the couple, who were nearly kneeling before me, stand up and handed them a backpack. It was a gift Jade had prepared for the little girl, filled with clothes and toys that Kino no longer used. The company commander repeatedly invited us to the safe base as well, but I shook my head, and so did Jade. For the next 2 years, especially in the areas that were once urban residential zones outside the safe base, there were over a dozen major exterminations. Only when it was confirmed that there were no zombies or zombie viruses remaining did people gradually start returning from the safe base to their hometowns to restart their lives. However, there were far too few people left. Large cities turned into small cities gradually moved closer to what large cities were, and some were simply abandoned. When Kino turned 6, Jade reluctantly moved with her to a small town near the sweet potato cellar because Kino had to go to school. Fortunately, it wasn't far, and they would hop back to the sweet potato cellar every weekend. With the 2 of them gone, it was quieter, and I had more time to myself, picking up farm work again, enjoying the leisure of planting in spring and harvesting in autumn. Sometimes I also helped my mentor with some work, contributing to the new society and new order. One night in June, guests arrived at the farm. It was that family of 3. They brought beer, and Jade was excited, bustling around to prepare a barbecue. Hugo had several drinks and, with flushed excitement, said, "Doctor, back then, I thought the world had collapsed. I was afraid to eat or sleep. Every morning I'd first check on my wife and daughter, and if they were there, I'd reassure myself that we were still alive." Wiping away tears, he continued, "My parents sacrificed their lives for a sliver of hope for us. I thought, no matter what, I had to keep living. Who knew?" That night, that incident happened. We drove away 3, but then 6 more came. I thought, it's over, we're done. What do we do? Should we just end it ourselves? I was about to do it when you intervened. We survived. Doctor, these days, I'm constantly busy, doing everything. He laughed and cried. "I won't lie to you, back then, I was a spoiled brat. My parents were retired, had some spare money, and didn't expect much from me. I just played around, traveling everywhere, nearly 30 and never had a real job. Now, I understand, life is not easy. Don't waste the chance to live, whether it's for yourself or for others. Just do what you can." He was drunk. I glanced at the woman sitting beside him. Her belly was swollen, pregnant, looking at the 2 beautiful little girls waiting around Jade for grilled chicken wings. Jade grinned like a fool. It seemed like many years ago. I too had lain on my mother's lap, listening to her call me with a laugh, "Isla." I smiled. "Living, it's quite good indeed."